Testing 1, 2, 3. Hope everybody that watches this gets something out of it. This is going to be the presidential, vice presidential debate, the first and only. Mike Pence against Kamala Harris face off in the 2020 election as vice president. This takes place in Utah. Let's see what we get out of this. Coming up shortly. Well, good evening. Welcome to the Hardcore Show. Right now, I'm going to set this up so that we can see the debate between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris. It's the VP debate. Let's turn that on. I'm going to just scroll on here, and once it gets started, it is 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It is 10/7/2020. Most of us heard or saw the first debate between President Trump and leading candidate Vice President Biden. So let's see what we get here. I might commentate a little bit, but hopefully we'll get into this and see what we get. Let me see if I can scroll this a little bit more. I don't see anybody. I didn't choose to listen to all the other stuff they talk about beforehand, all the rules. I do know this, that the rules say that anyone sitting anywhere that takes their mask off to do anything will be approached by law officers and somebody of authority and will be escorted out of the building and be humiliated the whole time by, guess who? The media. So let's see if we're getting close to having somebody there. Well, let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to click it on and be quiet for a little bit and hear what's happening.
Recovering from the virus at the White House. No vice president has ever debated while the president is known to be ill. Of course, the pandemic also stretches to the stage behind me. You've got the 12 feet of space between the candidates, the plexiglass partitions. And when it comes to what you might expect, the candidates themselves have said that they were told by a Biden campaign official that they expect Senator Harris to spar with Mike Pence, except for quote, prosecution by Vice President Trump. That's the layout of the contract.
Well, let me get out of this, go back to it, because I can hear people talking. Let me go back into it. Oh, I'm sorry. They explained earlier that you'll be hearing a bunch of people talking in the back, and that's all the reporters that are talking about the debate before it starts. So this is happening live as we see it, and these are several of the vultures back there hoping for something they can grab onto. So let's so that's why we started hearing all that. It was like freaking out. But I remember I didn't show you this earlier, but what happened was is that the narrator, the man, there was a man, not the lady that's going to be giving out the stuff, but being the moderator. But they were saying there'll be a bunch of people talking in the back. Don't worry about it. Yeah, they're all talking right now. But what I'd like to do is see what's happening with this. I may, if it becomes very boring or whatever, I might jump out and talk about some other things that didn't jump back into it to see what's happening. But I've never done one of these live ones before, so I have the ability to pause it and give my opinion, which will be only my opinion. But oh, we're zooming in. Here we go.
Good evening. From the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, welcome to the first and only Vice Presidential Debate of 2020, sponsored by the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm Susan Page of USA Today. It is my honor to moderate this debate, an important part of our democracy. In Kingsbury Hall tonight, we have a small and socially distant audience, and we've taken extra precautions during this pandemic. Among other things, everyone in the audience is required to wear a face mask, and the candidates will be seated 12 feet apart.
99.9 people survive.
The audience is enthusiastic about their candidates,
Even with
but they've
underlying
agreed to
health
express
conditions.
that enthusiasm only twice, at the end of the debate and now when I introduce the candidates.
My own
Please
mother had
welcome
it.
California Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence.
Oh, Pence is looking a little chunky. Just a little.
Thank you.
He's pretty wise.
Senator Harris and Vice President Pence, thank you for being here. We're meeting as President Trump and the First Lady continue to undergo treatment in Washington after testing positive for COVID-19. We send our thoughts and prayers to them for their rapid and complete recovery and for the recovery of everyone afflicted by the coronavirus. The two campaigns and the Commission on Presidential Debates have agreed to the ground rules for tonight. I'm here to enforce them on behalf of the millions of Americans who are watching. One note, no one in either campaign or at the Commission or anywhere else has been told in advance what topics I'll raise or what questions I'll ask. This 90-minute debate will be divided into
Biden
9 segments of about 10 minutes each.
The list
I'll
beforehand.
begin a segment by
That's
posing
bullshit.
a question to each of you, sometimes the same question, sometimes a different question on the same topic. You will then have 2 minutes to answer without interruption by me or the other candidate. Then we'll take 6 minutes or so to discuss the issue. At that point, although there will always be more to say, we'll move on to the next topic. We want a debate that is lively, but Americans also deserve a discussion that is civil. These are tumultuous times, but we can and will
a Democrat
have a
and
respectful
trying
exchange
to
about the
scold
big
you
issues
and
facing our
basically
nation.
tell you what to do.
Let's begin with the ongoing pandemic that has cost our country so much. Senator Harris, the coronavirus is not under control. Over the past week, Johns Hopkins reports that 39 states have had more COVID cases over the past 7 days than in the week before. 9 states have set new records. Even if a vaccine is released soon,
She's
the next
smiling
administration
because
will
she
face
knows all these
hard
answers
choices.
ahead of time, and
What
they're
would a
Democrats.
Biden administration do in January and February that a Trump administration wouldn't do? Would you impose new lockdowns for businesses and schools in hotspots? A federal mandate to wear masks?
She's
You
got
have
to
2
write
minutes
it down to
respond
remember.
without interruption.
Thank you, Susan. Well, the American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country.
What about Obama's failures?
And here are the facts. 210,000 dead people in our country in just the last several months.
That's not been proven.
Over 7 million people who have contracted this disease.
That
1
might
in
be
5
true.
businesses closed. We're looking at frontline workers who have been treated like sacrificial workers.
They've
We are
been
looking at
closed
over
because you guys
30
won't open
million
them.
people who in the last several months had to file for unemployment. And here's the thing. On January 28th, the vice president and the president were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were informed that it's lethal in consequence, that it is airborne, that it will affect young people, and that it would be contracted because it is airborne. And they knew what was happening, and they didn't tell you. Can you imagine if you knew on January 28th, as opposed to March 13th, what they knew, what you might have done to prepare? They
lot
knew
more than
and they
Obama.
covered it up.
A lot more
The
than
president
Obama.
said it was a hoax. They minimized the seriousness of it. The president said, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And in spite of all of that, today they still don't have a plan. They still don't have a plan. Well, Joe Biden does. And our plan is about what we need to do around a
Is
national
that the same
strategy
Joe Biden you said
for
that you were
contact
that little
tracing, for
girl that
testing,
was bussed
for
in?
administration
Weren't you
of
that
the
same girl
vaccine, and making sure
that
that
said he
it
was a
will be free
racist?
for all.
Weren't you that same girl?
That is the plan that Joe Biden has and that I have, knowing that we have to get a hold of what has been going on, and we need to save our country. And Joe Biden is the best leader to do that. And frankly, this administration has forfeited
Thank you,
their
Senator.
right to
You're
re-election
cut off,
based
lady.
on this.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, more than 210,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 since February. The U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population is higher than that of almost every other wealthy nation on earth. For
That's not a
instance, our
fact.
death rate is 2.5 times that of Canada next door.
First of all, they don't report
You
things
head
in other
the
countries,
administration's
especially communist
coronavirus task
countries.
force.
They kill people every
Why
day
is
for
the U.S.
fun.
death toll as a percentage of our population higher than that of almost every other wealthy country? And you have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Susan, thank you. And I want to thank the Commission and the University of Utah for hosting this event. And Senator Harris, it's a privilege to be on the stage with you.
He said, privileged to be on the
Our
stage. She
nation's
said
gone through a
nothing.
very challenging time this year. But I want the American people to know that from the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first. Before there were more than 5 cases in the United States, all people who had returned from China, President Donald Trump did what no other American president had ever done. And that was he suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Senator Joe Biden opposed that decision. He said it was xenophobic and hysterical. But I can tell you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force, that that decision alone by President Trump bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. And I believe it saved hundreds of thousands of American lives. Because with that time, we were able to reinvent testing. More than 115 million tests have been done to date. We were able to see to the delivery of billions of supplies so our doctors and nurses had the resource and support they needed. And we began, really, before the month of February was out, to develop a vaccine and to develop medicines and therapeutics that have been saving lives all along the way. And under President Trump's leadership, Operation Warp Speed, we believe, will have literally tens of millions of doses of a vaccine before the end of this year. The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot like what President Trump and I and our task force have been doing every step of the way. I mean, quite frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine,
That's everything he's already done.
it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about. And I think the American people know that this is a president who has put the
Thank you,
health
Vice
of America first, and the American people, I believe with my heart, can be
Thank you,
proud
Vice
of the
President
sacrifices they have made. It's saved
Thank you,
countless
Vice President
American
Pence.
lives.
Yeah, let him finish.
Senator Harris, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at over 210,000 dead bodies in our country, American lives that have been lost, families that are grieving that loss. And you know, the vice president is the head of the task force and knew on January 28th how serious this was. And then thanks to Bob Woodward, we learned that they knew about it. And then when that was exposed,
Bob Woodward is a hack.
the vice president said, when asked,
And
well,
use
why
it
didn't
for
y'all tell
political
anybody?
gain and money.
He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Well, let's get
So but Susan, this is important.
Susan, I
and I
have
want to
to
add,
weigh
but
in
if,
here.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have
No,
to
you're
say-
not speaking, lady.
You can
So
have
I
15 more
wanna-
seconds, and then we'll give the Vice President
Thank
a
you.
chance to
So I
respond.
want to ask the
That's
American
called
people,
interrupting.
How
No
calm were you
interrupting.
when you were panicked about where you're going to get your next roll of toilet paper? How calm were you when your kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back? How calm
Thank
were
you.
you
Thank
when
you,
your
Senator
children
Harris.
couldn't see your parents because you were afraid they could kill them?
Let's give Vice President Pence a chance to respond. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute to
You
respond.
know, there's not a day gone by that I haven't thought of every American family that's lost a loved one. And I want all of you to know that you'll always be in our hearts and in our prayers. But when you say what the American people have done over these last 8 months hasn't worked, that's a great disservice to the sacrifices the American people have made.
I'm referring
The
to
reality,
you and the
if I may finish, Senator, the reality is Dr. Fauci said everything that he told the president in the Oval Office, the president told the American people. Now, President Trump, I will tell you, has boundless confidence in the American people, and he always
Don't
spoke with
wear a
confidence
mask.
that we'd get through
Wear a
this
mask.
together.
Don't wear a mask.
But when you
wear a
say it
mask.
hasn't worked, when Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and our medical experts came to us in the second week of March, they said if the president didn't take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million Americans. Now, that's the reality.
Thank you.
They also
Thank you,
said
Vice
to us if
President
we did
Pence.
everything
Of course, if
right,
he's gonna make a
Susan, we could
comment,
still
you're not
lose
gonna
more
let
than
him talk.
200,000 Americans.
Vice
Now,
President
one
Pence.
life lost is too
Thank you.
many, Susan. But the American people, I believe, deserve credit for the sacrifices that they have made, putting the health of their family and their neighbors first, our doctors, our nurses, our first
Thank you, Vice
responders.
President Pence.
And I'm going to speak up on behalf of what the American people have done.
Vice President Pence, you were in your administration and congressional officials. No social distancing, few masks, and now a cluster of coronavirus cases among those who were there. How can you expect Americans to follow the administration's safety guidelines
If
to
you guys
protect
think that
themselves
it
from
just
COVID
happened for hell of
when
it,
you at the White
I
House
think
have
it
not
definitely
been doing so?
somebody got that virus
Well, the
in there
American
and
people
brought them close to everyone.
have demonstrated
I don't think
over
that
the
this
last
just
8 months
happened.
that when given the facts, they're willing to put the health of their families and their neighbors and people they don't even know first. And President Trump and I have great confidence in the American people and their ability to take that information and put it into practice. In the height of the epidemic, when we were losing a heartbreaking number of 2,500 Americans a day, we surged resources to New Jersey and New York and New Orleans and Detroit. We told the American people what needed to be done, and the American people made the sacrifices. When the outbreak in the Sun Belt happened this summer, again, Americans stepped forward. But the reality is the work of the President of the United States goes on. A vacancy on the Supreme Court of the United States has come upon us, and the President introduced Judge Amy Coney
Yes,
Barrett.
thank you. Thank you, Vice
Oh, we
President.
don't want to
If
talk
I
about
may
it.
say,
Don't want to
that
talk
Rose
about
Garden
it.
event. There's been a great deal of speculation about it. My wife Karen and I were there and honored to be there. Many of the people who were at that event, Susan, actually were tested
Yes.
for coronavirus, and it was an outdoor event, which all of our scientists regularly and routinely advise. The difference here is President Trump and I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about mandates, and not just mandates with the coronavirus, but a government takeover of health care,
Thank you. Thank
the
you, Vice
Green New
President Pence.
Deal, all government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
Let's talk about respecting the American people. You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. You respect the American people when you have the courage
Can we
Which
tell
we
the
do.
to be a
truth how
leader,
you got your
speaking
job?
of those things
How
that
you
you
were
may
sleeping
not
with a
want people to hear, but they
65-year-old
need to hear so
man?
they can protect themselves.
You were his mistress.
But
Do you
this
want to talk about
administration
that?
stood on information
wanna
that
talk
if you
about
had
how
as
you
a
put
parent,
so many
if you
people in
had
jail
as a
for
worker
marijuana?
knowing you didn't have enough money saved up,
Can we talk
and now
about
you're
that?
standing in a food line because of the ineptitude
This woman's never stood in any
of an
fucking food line.
administration that was unwilling to speak the truth to the American people. So let's talk about caring about the American people. The American people have had to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked
No,
about
Vice
It is
President
asking
Pence.
too much of the people.
Look-
That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect
Susan,
their parents
President-
and
No,
their
I'm
children.
sorry. Kamala Harris, Senator Harris, I'm sorry.
It's
I
fine,
meant
I'm
to say-
Kamala.
No, you're Senator Harris to me. For life to get back to normal, Dr. Anthony Fauci and other experts say that most of the people who can be vaccinated need to be vaccinated. But half of Americans now say they wouldn't take a vaccine if it was released now.
And Joe's saying not to,
If the Trump
which is wrong.
administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it, absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Trump's already taken it.
Vice
What are
President
you,
Pence,
crazy?
there have been a lot of repercussions from this pandemic. In recent days, the president's diagnosis of COVID-19 has underscored the importance of the job that you hold and that you are seeking. That's our second topic tonight. It's the role of the vice president. One of you will make history on January 20th. You will be the vice president to the oldest president the United States has ever had. Donald Trump will be 74 years old on Inauguration Day.
The crib keeper.
Joe Biden will be 78 years old. That already has raised concerns among some voters, concerns that have been sharpened by President Trump's hospitalization in recent days. Vice President Pence, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with President Trump about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes without interruption.
Well, Susan, thank you, although I would like to go back.
I think we need to move on to the issue of
thank you, but I would like to go back.
Yes,
Because
go back and give her
the
some help.
reality is that we're going to have a vaccine, Senator, in record time, in unheard of time, in less than a year. We have 5 companies in phase 3 clinical trials, and we're right now producing tens of millions of doses. So the fact that you continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine, if the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives. The reality is that we will have a vaccine, we believe, before the end of this year. And it will have the capacity to save countless American lives. And your continuous undermining of confidence in a vaccine is just, it's just unacceptable.
That's the only talking point
And let me
she's
also
got.
say, you know, the reality is when you talk about failure in this administration, we actually do know what failure looks like in a pandemic. It was 2009.
Obama.
The swine flu arrived in the United States. Thankfully, it ended up not being as lethal as the coronavirus. But before the end of the year, when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, not 7.5 million people contracted the swine flu. 60 million Americans contracted the swine flu.
60.
If the swine flu had been as lethal as the coronavirus, in 2009, when Joe Biden was vice president, we would have lost 2 million American lives. His own chief of staff, Ron Klain, would say last year that it was pure luck that they did, quote, everything possible wrong. And we learned from that. They left the strategic national stockpile empty. They left an empty and hollow plan, but we still learned from it. And I think the American people, I'm going to say again, can be proud of what we have done. And Senator, please stop undermining confidence in a vaccine.
Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked Vice President Pence, which is, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with Vice President Biden about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, and if you win the election next month, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So let me tell you, first of all, the day I got the call from Joe Biden, it was actually
You mean
a
the
Zoom
one
call,
when you said he was a racist, as a piece of shit?
asking me to serve with him on this ticket
That
was probably one
Vice
of the most memorable days of my life. I thought about my mother, who came to the United States at the age of 19.
And your
gave
father's
birth to me at
actually
the age of
Indian
25
and Irish, not black.
At Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California.
So
And,
black race
I
card,
thought
you
that
can't
I'd be
call
sitting
it.
here
You
right
cannot
now,
call it.
I know would make her proud, and she must
Your
be
father
looking
was
down on us.
adopted in Jamaica.
You know, Joe and I were
Doesn't make
raised in
him
a very
Jamaican.
similar way. We were raised with values that are about hard work, about the value and the dignity of public service,
If you don't know, she
and about
claimed
the
to be
importance
Indian
of fighting
all the
for
way
the
up
dignity of all
until
people.
just
And
recently.
I think Joe asked me to serve with him because, you know, I have a career that included being elected the first woman district attorney of San Francisco.
How did you get
where I
that
created
job?
models of innovation
Were you
for
sleeping with a
law enforcement in
65-year-old?
terms of
Were you-
reform of the
weren't you
criminal
his-
justice system.
his
I was
mistress?
elected
Yes.
the first woman of color and black woman to be elected Attorney General
You're
of the state
not
of California,
black.
where I ran
You're
the second
Indian.
largest Department of Justice in the United States. second only to the United States Department of Justice. And
First
there
of all,
I took on
that's not a
everything from
wig she's
transnational
wearing. That
criminal
is her real
organizations
hair.
to the
People
big
from
banks that
India,
were taking advantage of
they have
homeowners,
really
to
straight hair.
for-profit colleges that were taking advantage of veterans. And then, of course, now I serve in the United States Senate as only the second black woman ever elected to the United States Senate. I serve on
You're
the Senate
Indian, not
Intelligence
black.
Committee, where I've been in regular receipt of classified information about threats to our nation and hotspots around the world. I've traveled the world. I've met with our soldiers in war zones. And I think Joe has asked me to serve with him because he knows that we share a purpose which is about lifting up the American people. And after the 4 years that we have seen of Donald Trump unifying our country around our common values.
They always cut off a half year.
Thank you, Senator Harris. You know, neither President Trump nor Vice President Biden has released a sort of detailed health information that had become the modern norm until the 2016 election. And in recent days, President Trump's doctors have given misleading answers or refused to answer basic questions about his health. And my question to each of you in turn is this information voters deserve to know? Vice President Pence, would you like to go first?
Well, Susan, thank you. And let me say, on behalf of the President and the First Lady, how moved we've all been by the outpouring of prayers and concern for the President. And I do believe it's emblematic of the prayers and the concern that have ushered forth for every American impacted by the coronavirus. But the care the President received at Walter Reed Hospital, the White House doctors, was exceptional. And the transparency that they practiced all along the way will continue. The American people have a right to know about the health and well-being of their President, and will continue to do that. But I'm just extremely grateful and was more than a little moved by the broad and bipartisan support. And Senator, I want to thank you and Joe Biden for your expressions of genuine concern. And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic nature of your nomination.
Thank you.
I never expected to be on this stage 4 years ago, so I know the feeling. But the reality is we've got an election before the American people in the midst of this challenging year. And the stakes have never been higher, but I think the choice has never been clearer.
I want to give Senator Harris a chance to respond to the same question I asked, which is, do voters have a right to know more detailed health information about presidential candidates and especially about presidents, especially when they're facing some kind of challenge?
Absolutely, and that's why Joe Biden has been so incredibly transparent, and certainly by contrast, the president has not, both in terms of health records, but also let's look at taxes. We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750
That was
in
actually
taxes.
proven not to
when
even
I
be
first
true.
heard about
if it was, that
I
person would
literally
have been
said, "You mean
in jail,
$750,000?" And it was like, no, $750. We now know Donald Trump owes
Jeff Bezos
and is
pays
in debt
zero.
for $400 million. And just so
owner
everyone
of
is clear, when
Netflix
we
pays
say in
zero.
debt, it means you owe money to somebody. And it'd be
Apple
really good
pays
to
zero
know
in
who
taxes.
the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief,
Zero.
owes money to, because the American people have a right to know what is influencing the President's decisions. And is he making those decisions on the best interest of the American people,
Let's remember,
of you,
it's
or
these people who
self-interest?
started with
So,
Hillary
Susan,
Clinton.
I'm glad you asked about transparency, because it
about
has to
the
be
Russian
across
collusion,
the board.
which
Joe
was
has been
bullcrap. Now they
incredibly
found out,
transparent
and I'll be talking
over
about
many,
this,
many years.
that
The
the
one
Russian
thing we all know
collusion
about
was
Joe,
being pushed
he
by
puts it all
Hillary
out
Clinton.
there. He is honest, he is forthright, but Donald
Honest.
Trump, on the other hand,
Susan.
has been
Thank-
about covering up everything.
Thank you, Senator Harris. I want to give you a chance to respond,
Honest.
Vice President.
Well, look, I respect the fact that Joe Biden spent 47 years in public life. I respect your public service as well.
Thank you.
But the American people have a president who's a businessman, he's a job creator, who's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes,
Yes.
payroll taxes, property taxes. He's created tens of thousands of American jobs. And the president said
created
those
nothing.
public reports are not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures the American people can review just as the law allows. But the distinction here is that Joe Biden, 47 years in public service compared to President Donald Trump, who brought all of that experience 4 years ago.
Thank you, Vice
and
President.
turned this economy around by cutting taxes, rolling back regulation, unleashing
Vice
American
President
energy,
Pence.
fighting for free and fair trade, and all of that's
Thank you,
on the
Vice
line
President
if
Pence.
Joe Biden and Kamala
Anytime
Harris.
she-
You know,
he
that's a
talks,
good
they keep
segue into
cutting.
our third
great
topic,
segue.
which is about the economy. This has been another aspect of life for Americans. It's been
The
so
economy's coming
affected
back. What the hell is
by
she
this
talking
coronavirus. We have a jobs crisis brewing. On Friday, we
Crisis
learned that
brewing.
the unemployment rate had declined to 7.9% in September, but the job growth had stalled, and that was before the latest round of layoffs and furloughs in the airline industry at Disney and elsewhere. Hundreds of thousands of discouraged workers have stopped looking for work.
You wanna
Nearly
get
11 million jobs
America
that
back
existed
to
at the beginning of
open
the
up
year
the
haven't
restaurants,
been
open
replaced.
up
Those hardest
small
hit include
businesses.
Latinos, blacks,
Open
and
them.
women.
Stop.
Senator Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign has proposed new programs to boost the economy, and you would pay for that new spending by raising $4 trillion in taxes on wealthy individuals
trillion
and
dollars.
corporations. Some economists warn that could curb entrepreneurial ventures that fuel growth and create jobs.
Of course it would.
Would raising taxes put the recovery
That's
at
all they
risk?
do is
and you
raise
have 2 minutes
taxes.
to answer uninterrupted.
Thank you. On the issue of the economy, I think there couldn't be a more fundamental difference
She knows nothing.
between Donald
She's-
Trump
she
and Joe
doesn't know
Biden.
anything about the economy.
Joe
Zero.
Biden believes you measure the health and the strength of America's economy based on the health and the
She
strength
knows how to
of
put
the
people
American
in jail
worker
for marijuana
and the
and
American
keep them in
family.
jail. That's what she knows.
On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is why he passed the
people,
tax bill
their own
benefiting
businesses,
the top 1%
and the
and the
higher
biggest
people.
corporations of America, leading to a $2 trillion deficit that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill.
Of course he
He'll get
will.
rid of it.
Right.
And what he'll do with the money is invest it in the American people. And
Green New Deal.
through a plan that is about investing in infrastructure, something that Donald Trump said he would do. I remember hearing about some infrastructure week. I don't think it ever happened.
Really?
But Joe Biden will do that. He'll invest in infrastructure. It's about upgrading our roads and bridges, but also investing in clean energy and renewable energy.
Green
Joe
New
is going
Deal.
to invest that money in what we need to do around innovation. There was a time when our country believed in science and invested in research and development so that we were an innovation leader on the
How
globe.
do you feel about the
Joe Biden will
sanctitude
use
of
that money to
marriage
invest
when
in
you broke up
education.
somebody's marriage?
So, for example, for folks
How do
who
you
want to
feel
go to a
about that?
two-year
Can you
community
tell
college,
us?
it will be free. If you come from a family that makes less than $125,000, you'll go to a public university for free. And across the board, we'll make sure that if you have student loan debt, it's cut by $10,000.
Sure it will
That's
be.
how Joe Biden thinks about the economy, which is it's about investing in the people of our
Joe
country
Biden doesn't
as
even know
opposed
where
to
the
passing a
fuck he
tax
is.
bill, which had the benefit of letting American corporations go offshore to do their business.
Really?
Thank
Joe
you,
Biden
Senator Harris.
and his son
Vice
went
President
out
Pence, your
and grabbed
administration
a
has
bunch
been
of money
predicting a
from
rapid and
China,
robust recovery.
Russia, and everything,
But the latest
right?
economic report suggests that's not happening. Should Americans be braced for an economic comeback that is going to take not months, but a year or more? You have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
When President Trump and I took office, America had gone through the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression.
Proven fact.
Because when Joe Biden was vice president, they tried to tax and spend and regulate and bail our way back to a growing economy. President
work
Trump
that
cut
way.
taxes across the board. Despite what Senator Harris says, the average American family of four had $2,000 in savings in taxes. And with the rise in wages that occurred, most predominantly for blue-collar, hardworking Americans, the average household income for a family of four increased by $4,000 following President Trump's tax cuts. But America, you just heard Senator Harris tell you, on day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes.
100%.
It's really remarkable to think.
Couldn't set that up better if you...
Right after a time
pitched a
we're going through a
softball
pandemic that
throw.
lost 22 million jobs at the height.
Hang on to
We've
raise your
already
taxes.
added back 11.6 million jobs because we had a president who cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and secured $4 trillion from
We have
Congress
energy
of the United
independence,
States,
first
give
time
direct
ever in
payments
America.
to families, save 50 million
First
jobs
time
through the
ever.
Paycheck Protection Program. We literally have spared no expense to help the American people and the American worker through this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to raise taxes. They want to bury our economy under a $2
Green New
trillion
Deal.
Green New Deal, which you were one of the original co-sponsors of in the United
She's
States
the
Senate.
most.
They want to abolish fossil
In the
fuels
Senate, she
and
has
ban
the,
fracking, which would cost hundreds
she
of
has the most
thousands
record of being
American
a,
jobs all across the heartland.
a
And Joe
communist.
Biden wants to go back to
She's
the
into it.
economic
She's
surrender to
with
China.
Bernie,
That when we took
100%.
office, half of our international trade deficit was with China alone. And Joe Biden wants to repeal all of the tariffs that President Trump put into effect to fight for American jobs and American workers. Joe Biden says democracy's on the ballot. Make no mistake about it, Susan. The American economy, the American comeback is on the ballot with 4 more years of growth
Thank you.
and opportunity,
Thank you,
4
Vice
more years of President Donald
Stop
Trump.
cutting them off.
2021
Thank
is
you,
going to
Vice
be the
President
biggest
Pence.
economic year in the history of this country.
Thank you,
go,
Vice President
baby.
Pence. Senator Harris.
Well, I mean, I thought we saw enough of it in last week's debate, but I think this is supposed to be a debate based on fact and truth. And the truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000
He said
a
he's going to
year.
repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr.
Yes.
Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
be important if you said the truth.
Yeah.
Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Yes.
That was tax cuts that gave the average working family
Yes. Money.
$2,000 in a tax break every single year.
That is,
Senator,
that is
that's the math.
absolutely not true.
It
That
is
Is he
true.
only
Bill.
cutting? Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cuts?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then
Please.
have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that.
my.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that.
He's ending fracking.
Joe Biden is the one who, during
He
the
has
Great Recession,
Bernie
was
out on his
responsible
campaign saying, "Come on in."
for the Recovery Act that brought America back.
socialist.
And now the Trump-Pence administration wants to take credit when they rode the coattails of Joe Biden's success for the
What?
economy that they had at the beginning of their term. Of course,
Are
now
you
the economy is a
fucking
complete
kidding me?
disaster. But Joe Biden, on the one hand, did that. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump,
Is this the
who
same
has
Joe Biden?
reigned over a
call
recession
the
that is being
racist?
compared to the Great Depression. On the one hand,
And you were the
have
little
Joe
girl
Biden,
on the bus that got
who was
busted.
responsible with President Barack Obama for the Affordable Care Act,
Oh, don't even speak
which brought
about
health care to
Obama.
over 20 million Americans
disaster.
and protected people with pre-existing
Him and
conditions.
Michael.
And what it also did
You know,
is
his
it
wife
saved those
that happens
families
to
who
have a
otherwise were
dangler?
going bankrupt because of hospital bills
Yeah,
they
you
could
know what I
not
mean.
afford. On the other hand,
She's got
you have Donald
lats
Trump, who's in
like
court
a
right
man.
now, trying to get rid of
Thank you, Senator
trying to
Harris.
get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan. And it's
Pre-existing
but we need to
conditions
give-
were
we need
already
to give Vice
signed
President-
I'd just like
a
to-
week
he
ago
interrupted
by
me, and
Donald
I'd like to
Trump.
just
It's already
finish,
in there,
please.
so don't worry about that pre-condition.
If you
bullshit.
have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer,
Or lying.
they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing
nonsense.
condition,
Thank you.
Why is
Thank you,
he?
Senator
Why
Harris.
is she
for you.
allowed to keep
If you are
talking?
under the age of
and
26
she's
on
already
your
supposed to be
parents'
done.
coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris, thank you.
You're
Let me
welcome.
give you a chance to respond.
Well, I hope we have a chance to talk about health care because Obamacare was a disaster. The American
100%.
people remember it well. And President Trump and I have a plan to improve health care and to protect pre-existing conditions for every American. But look, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. You yourself said on multiple occasions when you were running for president that you would ban fracking.
Yep.
Joe Biden looked at a supporter in the eye and pointed and said, I guarantee that we will abolish fossil fuels.
Yep.
They have a $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal, Susan, that your newspaper, USA Today, said really wasn't that very different from the original
she's from
Green New
USA
Deal.
Today.
More
Another
taxes,
Democratic
more regulation,
stronghold paper.
banning fracking, abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House.
Thank you very, very much, Vice President Pence. Once again, you've provided the perfect segue to a new topic, which is climate change. And Vice President Pence, I'd like to pose the first question to you. This year, we've seen record-setting hurricanes in the South. Another one, Hurricane Delta, is now threatening the Gulf. And we have
call
seen
about climate
record-setting
change?
wildfires in the West. Do you believe as the scientific community has concluded
Really?
that man-made climate change has made wildfires bigger, hotter, and more deadly, and have made hurricanes wetter, slower, and more damaging. You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
It's called
Thank you, Susan.
nature.
Well, first, I'm very proud of our record on the environment and on conservation. According to all of the best estimates, our air and land are cleaner than any time ever recorded. And our water is among the cleanest in the world. And just a
Especially in
little while
Michigan.
ago, the President signed the Outdoors Act. It's the largest investment in our public lands and public parks in 100 years. So President Trump has made a commitment to conservation and to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change, the climate is changing. But the issue is, what's the cause and what do we do about it? President Trump has made it clear that we're going to continue to listen to the science. Now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. They'd impose the Green New Deal, which would crush American energy, would increase the energy costs of American families in their homes, and literally would crush American jobs. And President Trump and I believe that the progress that we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know, what's remarkable is the United States has reduced CO2 more than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord, but we've done it through innovation, and we've done it through natural gas and
Natural
fracking,
gas and
which,
fracking.
Senator, the American people can go look at the record. I know
They
Joe
want to
Biden
turn Pennsylvania
says otherwise now, as you
into
do.
a green place
But
with
the
no
both
fracking.
of you repeatedly
It's the only thing
committed
keeping that
to
state
abolishing
alive.
fossil fuel and banning of fracking. And so by creating the kind of American innovation,
Getting rid of coal.
we're actually steering toward a stronger and better
Get rid of all
environment.
animals
With
'cause
regard
they
to
fart.
wildfires, President Trump and I believe that forest management has to be front and center, and even Governor Gavin Newsom from your state has agreed we've got to work on forest management.
Forest
and with regard to
management because
hurricanes,
they have a bunch
the
of trees that
National
died from the
Oceanic
Chinese
Administration
bug or
tells us
Japanese
that
bug.
actually, as
And they just
difficult
let
as they
them
are,
die,
Thank you, Vice
and then they
President.
there are
caught on
no
fire
more
'cause they're like
hurricanes
driftwood.
today than
Thank
there
you.
were 100 years ago.
Thank you.
But many of the climate alarmists
President
use
Pence, I'm sorry, your time
hurricanes
is up.
and wildfires to try and
Thank
sell
you,
their
Vice
bill of
President
goods of a
Pence.
Green New Deal. And President Trump and I are going to always put
Thank you,
American
Vice
jobs and
President
American
Pence.
workers first.
Senator Harris, as the Vice President mentioned, you co-sponsored the Green New Deal in Congress.
You
But
did.
Vice President Biden said in last week's debate that he does not support the Green New Deal. But if you look at the Biden-Harris campaign website, it describes the Green New Deal as a crucial framework. What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green
Yeah,
New Deal?
what does it mean?
You have
You're
2
caught
minutes
with your-
uninterrupted.
With your
Sure.
hands
So,
in the
first
cookie
of all,
jar.
I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact.
That is not a fact.
I will repeat that
She's
Joe
looking at her
Biden
notes.
has been
I'm
very
looking down.
clear that
Look
he
at your
thinks
notes.
about growing jobs, which is why he will not increase taxes for anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year.
Bullshit.
Joe Biden's economic plan, Moody's, which is a reputable Wall Street firm,
Wall
has said will
Street.
create 7 million more jobs than Donald Trump's. And part of those jobs that will be created by Joe Biden are going to be
Clean
about
energy.
clean energy and renewable energy.
There we go.
Because
and what
you
is
see,
that? That means
Joe
no oil, no
understands
fracking, no nothing.
That the west coast of our country is burning, including my home state of California.
It is.
Joe sees what is happening on the Gulf states, which are being battered by storms. Joe has seen and talked with the farmers in Iowa, whose
Why isn't she
entire
talking
crops have
about
been
all the
destroyed because
peoples
of floods.
That are
And so Joe
camping
believes,
out
again, in
and
science.
shitting
I'll
in the
tell you
streets
something,
in
Susan.
California.
I served, when I first got to the Senate, on the committee
Homelessness.
that's responsible for the environment. Do you know this administration took the word science off the website and then took the phrase climate change off the website? We have seen a pattern with this administration, which is they don't believe in science. And Joe's plan is about saying we're going to deal with it, but we're also going to create jobs. Donald Trump, when asked about the wildfires in California, and the question was, you know, the science is telling us this, you know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know. So
Science
let's
doesn't
talk
know
about
because
who
guess
is
what? It's
prepared
called
to
nature.
lead our country.
You
over the
can't
course
leave
of the
a
next
whole-
4 years
a
on what is an
whole,
existential
forest
threat to
full
us
of
as
dead
human
trees,
beings.
and then when
Joe is
lightning
about
hits the
saying we're
ground,
going to invest that in renewable
they get up
energy.
like a
It's going to be
match.
about the creation of
Why
millions
wasn't
of jobs.
that taken
We
care
will
of?
achieve net zero
That's what he
emissions
asked
by
Newsom.
2050,
Why didn't Trump
carbon
said, hey,
neutral
why
by
didn't you
2035.
take care of this?
Joe
Do your
has a
forest
plan.
management.
This
Other
has been a lot
countries
of
do
talk
it.
from the Trump administration, and
And he's
really
like,
it has
"Oh, I
been
guess
to
we
go
should've."
backward instead of forward. We will also re-enter the climate agreement with pride.
Of course you
Senator
will.
Harris just said that climate change is an existential threat. Vice President Pence, do you believe that climate change poses an existential threat?
As I said, Susan, the climate is changing. We'll follow the science. But once again, Senator Harris
Green New Deal,
is
baby.
denying the fact that they're going to raise taxes on every American. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that on day one he was going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
That takes
Those
it from
tax
middle
cuts
class
delivered
and low income people.
$2,000 in tax relief to the average family of four across
And it's going to
America.
put it in his pocket.
And with
in
regard to
Sudden
banning fracking, I
Hunter's
just
pocket,
recommend
too.
that people
Hunter.
look at the record. You yourself said repeatedly that you would ban fracking. You were the first Senate co-sponsor of the Green New Deal.
She's the
And while Joe
farthest
Biden
left person
denied
in
the
the
Green
Senate.
New Deal, Susan, thank you for pointing out the Green New Deal is on their campaign website.
Yes.
And as USA Today said, it's essentially the same plan as you co-sponsored with AOC when she submitted it in the Senate.
AOC. Who
And you
is
just
she?
heard the senator say
She's
that
for
she's going
Bernie.
to resubmit America to the Paris Climate Accord.
Yes.
The American people have always cherished our environment. We'll continue to cherish it. We've made great progress reducing CO2 emissions through American innovation and the development of natural gas through fracking. We don't need a massive $2 trillion Green New Deal that would impose all new mandates
We
on
can't
American
make
businesses
vehicles
and
with
American
batteries, because
families.
guess what? The
Joe
batteries
Biden wants
go
us to
bad in about 5
retrofit
years.
4 million
Then we got to make a
Vice President.
tomb, a
business
steel
buildings.
tomb with
It makes
cement
no sense. It will
to
cost
hold these
jobs.
things
President Trump
so they don't
Thank
leak
you,
into
Vice
the
President.
ground.
America
They're
first.
just
He's
as
gonna put
toxic
jobs
as
first.
anything
We're going
else.
to take care of our environment and follow the science.
Thank
But
you, Vice
you know,
President
on the
Pence.
issue of jobs,
Senator Harris.
let's talk about
we
that.
go.
The vice president earlier referred to, as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment,
Joe
the
Biden.
president's trade war with China.
She's
You
stuttering.
lost that trade war. You lost it. What ended up happening is because of a so-called trade war with China, America lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs.
They brought us the fucking
Farmers
virus. I could give a
have
shit about
experienced
China.
bankruptcy because of it. We are in a manufacturing recession because of it.
Really?
And when we look at where
Seven
this
point something
administration
percent
has
of
been,
people
there are
out
estimates
of a
that by
job.
the end
Everybody
of the
else is
term
working.
of this administration,
I'm working, everybody's
they will
working.
have lost more jobs than almost any other presidential administration. And the
bullshit.
American people know what I'm talking about.
No,
You
we
know.
don't.
I think about
Let's
20-year-olds.
hear about you
know, we
having
have
sex with a
20-year-old,
married man and destroying a
20-something-year-old
marriage.
who
Can
are
we do
coming
that?
out of high school and college right now, and you're
Please.
wondering, is there going to be a job there for me? We're looking at people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent
state
by
she
the end
lives
of the
in
month. Almost
is in a
half of
complete
American renters
disaster.
are
People
worried
are
about whether they're going to
leaving
be able to
as
pay
fast
rent
as they
by
freaking
the
can.
end of the month.
Even the people
this is
that
where
have
the
no money are
economy is in
leaving.
America right now, and it is because of the
And she's part of it.
catastrophe and the failure of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond because then I want to move on to
Well,
15
I'd love
seconds.
to respond. Look, lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden's
Biden
been a
was-
cheerleader for communist China through over the last several decades. And again,
He is a communist,
Senator
just like
Harris,
she
you're entitled to your
is.
opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. When Joe Biden was vice president, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs, and President
gone.
Obama said they were never coming back. He said
Yep.
we needed a magic wand to bring them back. In our first 3 years after we cut taxes,
you, Vice
rolled back
President.
regulation, unleashed American energy, this administration saw 500,000
Thank you, Vice
manufacturing
President
jobs
Pence.
created. And that's exactly the kind of growth we're going to continue to see as we bring our nation through
Thank you, Vice
this
President
pandemic.
Pence.
Thank
The
you.
Green New
Thank
Why
you.
do you
Deal,
cut
your
them off so
massive
fast?
mandates, your Paris Climate Accord, it's going to kill jobs this time, just like it killed jobs.
I'd like
Susan,
to-
I just need to respond very
No,
briefly.
you
15
don't.
seconds and
Thank
then we'll
you.
move
Thank
on.
you.
15 seconds.
Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight. Thank you.
I'd like to talk about China. We have as our next
Oh, you mean
topic,
Chevy, who
we have no more
told people that they were going to
or
all move
consequential
everything over
foreign
to
relationship
China?
than the one with
If
China.
you didn't give them big
It
tax
is
rates,
a huge
bye-bye.
market for American agricultural goods. It's a potential partner in
Chevy
dealing with
can go
climate
off the
change
face
in
of
North
this earth and
Korea.
could give a
And in
shit.
a video tonight, President Trump again blamed it for the coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies? You have 2 minutes.
China
Thank you,
is
Susan.
the biggest of it. You know, they're worried about Russia, but
Well,
China.
before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can. You know, everybody knows that NAFTA cost literally thousands of American factories to close.
Yes.
We saw automotive jobs go south of the border. President Trump fought to
Got it back.
renegotiate NAFTA. And the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is now the law of the land. American people deserve to know Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. It was a huge win for American auto workers. It was a huge win for American farmers, especially dairy in the upper Midwest. But Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change, that you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American jobs. I think the American people deserve to know that. It's probably why Newsweek magazine said that Kamala Harris was the most liberal member of the United States
Liberal
Senate
as
in
shit.
2019.
Yeah,
more liberal
100%.
than Bernie Sanders, more liberal than any of the others in the United States Senate. So now with regard to China, look, Susan, first and foremost, China is to blame for the coronavirus.
100%.
And President Trump is not happy about it. He's made that very clear, made it clear again today. China and the World Health Organization did not play straight with the American people.
Nope.
They did not let our personnel into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been
She's
taking
going to
advantage
cut
of
him off
America for
because he's going to
decades
get down to the
in the wake
nitty-gritty.
of
Watch. She's
Joe
going to cut
Biden's
him off.
cheerleading for China. President
Watch.
Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China. And again, the American people deserve to know Joe Biden opposed President Trump's
100%.
decision to suspend all travel from China. He said it
Xenophobic.
was hysterical. He said it
Thank
was
you, Vice President
xenophobic.
Pence.
See, cut him
President
off.
Trump has
Vice
stood
President
up
Pence,
to
your time is
China.
up.
We're going to continue to stand
Anytime you talk
strong.
about
Thank you,
Joe,
Vice
she
President.
cuts him
We
off.
want to improve the relationship, but
Keep
we're going
talking.
to level the
Piss
playing
on
field.
her.
We're going to hold
Vice President
China
Pence.
accountable for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Thank you. Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked the Vice President. How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies? You'll have 2 minutes
You'll
uninterrupted.
hear what she has to say. She's a communist.
Susan, the Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and
What is
America's
she talking
standing.
about? We brought jobs back. They
There's
gave us
a
the
weird
virus.
obsession that President Trump has had with getting rid of whatever accomplishment was achieved by President Obama and Vice President Biden. For example, they created within the White House an office that basically was responsible for monitoring pandemics. They got rid of it.
Not true.
There was a team of disease experts that President Obama and
They
Vice President
failed
Biden
on
dispatched
the
to
N1H1.
China
They completely failed.
to
They didn't
monitor
even stock the
what
goddamn
is now predictable
mask and
and what
things
might
they
happen.
needed.
They
They
pulled
left
them
it
out.
bare. Who the hell are
We
they
now
kidding?
are looking at 210,000 Americans who have lost their lives.
How many
Let's look
people
at the
are
job
still in jail
situation
over
we mentioned
marijuana
before.
in your
the
state?
trade deal, the trade war
that you
they wanted to
finally
call it with
approved?
China.
How many?
It resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing recession, and the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods because of that failed
I don't give a shit about what.
war
If we have
that
to
they
pay
called
more,
it.
as long as we don't
And
have
let's
to
talk about standing.
suck the
Pew,
boots of
a reputable
China.
research firm, has done an analysis that shows that leaders of all of our formerly allied countries have
Formerly.
now decided that they hold in greater esteem and respect Xi Jinping, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, than they do Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. This is where we are today because of a failure
She's a communist,
of leadership
and
by
she
this
wouldn't answer the
administration.
question, does she believe that China is that?
Senator Harris,
She's telling
we've
you
seen
that she
changes
believes that
in
China is the best,
the role of the United
and that
States in
we're
terms
just
of
being
global
mean to them.
leadership over the past 4
This
years.
is what you get
And
if you
of course,
want
times
this
do
shit.
change. What's your definition? We've seen strains with China, of course.
You notice
as the Vice
she didn't
President
press her on
mentioned.
saying what
We've seen
we're-
strains with our traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere. What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
So, you know,
So-
Joe is, I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues. And, you know, Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, you know, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships.
Oh, when he gets
And
all this money
so
from
we
all
know
these
this in our
countries, then
personal
lets his
professional
son,
relationships.
Hunter Biden,
You gotta keep
go
your word
make
to your
millions of
friends.
dollars and sell our
You gotta
country
be
away?
loyal to your
Sure.
friends. People who've stood with you, got to stand with them. You got to know who your adversaries are and keep them in check. But what we have seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and,
What friends?
and embraced dictators around the world. Let's
What
take, for
dictator did he
example,
embrace?
Russia. So, Russia, I serve on the Intelligence Committee of the United States Senate.
Are you the one leaking
America's
all the intelligence stuff?
community told us
Are you the one
Russia
leaking it?
interfered in the election of the President of the United States in 2016 and is playing in 2020.
Really?
Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, said
Well, I
the
want to talk
same.
about Russia
But
collusion
Donald
was a
Trump, the
fake,
Commander-in-Chief
and
of the
now they
United
know
States of
that
America
Hillary Clinton
prefers to
was
take the word
involved
of
and she
Vladimir Putin
organized the
over
whole
the word of
thing.
the American intelligence community.
That just came out today.
You look at our friends at NATO. He has walked away from agreements. You can look at the Iran nuclear deal, which now has put us in a position where we are less safe because they
Obama
are
gave
building
them
up
$1 billion
what might end up being a significant
so they
nuclear
could fund their goddamn
arsenal.
shit.
We
Are
were
you kidding?
in that deal, guys. We were in the Iran
We
nuclear
were
deal
in
with
that deal.
friends, with
That was a
allies around the
shitty-ass
country.
deal for the
and because
for
of Donald
our
Trump's
NATO, our
unilateral
people.
approach to foreign policy, coupled with his isolationism, he pulled us out and has made America less safe. So, Susan,
Bullshit.
it's about relationships. And the thing that has always been part of the strength of our nation,
Read
in
your
addition
notes,
to
keep
our
looking
great
down.
military, has been that we keep
You'll
our
read-
word.
read
But Donald
your
Trump
notes,
doesn't
look down again.
understand that because he doesn't understand what it means to be honest.
Thank you.
Oh, my
thank
God.
you. Thank you, Senator Harris.
he rips her a
Vice
new
President
one.
Pence, let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, thank you. Well, President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem,
Yep.
the capital of the state of Israel. When Joe Biden was vice president, they promised to do that, and they never did.
No, because
We stood strong
Obama's
with
Muslim.
our allies.
He's
But
not
we've
gonna
been
do it.
demanding. NATO is now contributing more to our common defense than ever before, thanks to President Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia-Pacific, and we've stood strong against those who would do us harm. You know,
The way
when
you're
President
supposed
Trump
to.
came into office, ISIS had captured an area of the Middle East the size of Pennsylvania. But President Trump unleashed the American military, and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader, al-Baghdadi, without one
and he's
American casualty.
bringing troops back now.
Al-Baghdadi was responsible.
Obama
for the
came in
death
and was not
of
going to do
thousands.
anything. It was going to. He kept giving more and more war
notably, America's
stuff
hearts
there.
today are with
He
the
kept
family of
sending more
Kayla Miller.
troops there.
Her parents of which are
Trump is
here with
bringing
us
them back.
tonight in Salt Lake City. Today, 2 of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder were brought to justice in the United States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the other beetle. The reality is that when Joe Biden was vice president, we had an opportunity to save Kayla Mueller. Breaks my heart to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval Office, presented a plan. They said they knew where Kayla was. Baghdadi had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly before they killed her. But when Joe Biden was vice president, they hesitated for a month.
Yep.
And when armed forces finally went in, it was clear she'd been moved 2 days earlier. And her family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice
Look, we
President.
destroyed the ISIS caliphate. And you talk about re-entering the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, the last administration transferred $1.8 billion to the leading state sponsor
Thank you,
Of
Vice
of
President.
terrorism. President Donald Trump got us out of the deal.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
And when Qasem
Let him
Soleimani was
finish. He
traveling
always tries to cut him
Baghdad
Thank you,
off.
Vice
do harm
President
to
Pence.
This is a
Americans,
Democratic
President
narrator.
Donald Trump took
Thank you,
him
Vice
out.
President Pence.
And America is safer. Our allies are safer, and the American people know President Donald
She doesn't
Trump
like
will
the truth.
never
If you
Thank
see
you,
her,
Vice
she
President.
fidgets in her
I would like
sheet
to give
and her
Senator
seat.
Harris a chance to respond, but not at such great length, because of course there are other topics we want to talk about.
But I would like equal time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
You started it.
First of all, to the Mueller family, I know about your daughter's case, and I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
I'm so sorry.
They blame you.
what happened to
They
her
blame
is
Obama.
And it should have never happened.
They blame
And I know
Obama.
Joe feels the same way.
Yeah, Joe feels
And
the
I
same
know
way.
that President Obama feels the same way.
Really?
But you mentioned Soleimani. Let's start there. So after the strike on Soleimani, there was a counter strike on our troops in Iraq. And
Remember it?
they
Come on.
suffered serious brain injuries. And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's, where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers.
That was never
Donald
proven
Trump,
to be true. That
who
was
went to
never proven to be
Arlington
true.
Cemetery
This is your
and stood
Democratic
above
talking points.
the graves of our fallen
He's done more for the
heroes.
military, gave everybody a raise,
And
and gave them
said-
brand new weapons.
What's in it for them? Because, of course, you know, he only thinks about what's in it for him.
We haven't
Let's
had a
take
war since we
what he
had
said
him. Every
about
time
John
with you guys,
McCain,
all we get is in wars.
a great
Democrats-
American hero.
Democrats started
And
the KKK,
Donald Trump
and they
says
also create
he doesn't
wars.
deserve
That's
to be
all they
called
do.
a hero because he was a prisoner of war. And this is very important when you
Don't you
want to
gonna
talk
cry
about
now?
who is
Come
the
on, start
current
crying.
commander in chief and what they care about and what they don't care about. Public reporting that Russia had bounties on the heads
That was proven
of
to be not true
American
either.
soldiers. And you know what a bounty is? It's somebody puts a price on your head and they will pay it if you are killed. And Donald Trump
She's
had
got
talked at
something
least 6
black,
times
really
to
black at
Vladimir
the bottom
Putin
of her teeth. It's
and
pretty
never
gross,
brought up
actually.
the subject. Joe Biden
Check
would
it
never
out.
do that.
Thank
Joe
you.
Biden would. But
Her
Joe
tooth has a
Biden
big old black
would
piece
hold
in it.
Russia to account for
She
any
should have brushed her
threat
teeth.
to our nation's
Maybe it's
security or
curry.
to
You know,
our
she's
troops
Indian.
who are sacrificing their lives for the sake of our democracy and our safety.
Thank you, Senator Harris. This is such an important issue, but we have other important issues
Yeah,
as
let's
well.
go to
And
another
I want to
important
make
one.
sure we have a chance
I really have to
talk
respond to
about.
that.
I'm-
Look, she has
15 seconds because
Well, I gotta
we're
have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that. Look.
Well, I'm sorry, but Vice President
Look,
Pence, you've had more time than she's had so far.
The slanders against President Donald Trump regarding men and women of our armed forces are absurd.
Bullshit.
I'm sorry, Vice
My
President
son is
Pence.
a captain in the United
Yes.
States Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed in the United States Navy. I can assure all of you, with sons and daughters serving in our military, President Donald Trump not only respects but reveres all of those who serve in our
Yep.
armed forces.
Always
and any
has.
suggestion otherwise.
Before he was
ridiculous.
president.
But
Let
thank
me
you,
also
Vice
say
President Pence.
the
Vice
American
President Pence,
people deserve-
you know,
Susan,
Vice
the
President
American
Pence,
people
This
deserve
I
woman
didn't
to know.
cut him
Vice
off.
President Pence, I did not,
The
excuse me,
Ameri-
Susan, the
I did
American
not
people
create
deserve
the
to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden
Your
and Trump-
campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's
I-
debate with
You're
the
cutting
Commission on
him
Presidential
off.
Debates. I'm here to enforce them, which involves
Who the
moving
hell are
from
you?
one topic to
Who
another,
cares about
giving
you?
roughly equal time to both of you,
Go right
which
ahead.
is what I'm trying very hard to do.
Go right ahead.
So I want to go ahead and move to the next topic, which is an important one, as the last topic was, and that is the Supreme Court.
Good.
On Monday, the
We're getting
Senate
it no matter
Judiciary
what,
Committee is
so
scheduled to
cry,
open
you
hearings on
liberal
Amy Coney
bitches,
Barrett's nomination
cry.
to the Supreme Court. Senator Harris, you'll be there
what's
as a
gonna
member of the
happen.
committee. Her
You're gonna
confirmation
try.
would
Oh, we
cement
can't do it
the
because of
court's
COVID.
conservative
Bullshit.
majority
If
and
we
make
have
it
to get these
likely
people in
open to more
spacesuits,
abortion
it's fine. We'll
restrictions,
get them in
even
there
to
to do
overturning
it.
the
Don't
landmark
matter.
Roe v. Wade ruling. Access to abortion would then be up to the states. Vice President Pence, you're the former governor of Indiana. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want Indiana to do? Would you want your home state to ban all abortions? You have 2 minutes.
100%.
uninterrupted.
Well, thank you for the question.
100%.
But I'll use a little bit of my time to respond to that very important issue before. The American people deserve to know Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible for the death of hundreds of American service members.
Hundreds.
When the opportunity came, we saw him headed to Baghdad to kill more Americans. President Trump didn't hesitate.
He was going there to plan.
Qasem
They already
Soleimani
knew that he was
gone.
planning to do more deaths
But you deserve to know that
in
Joe
America.
Biden and Kamala Harris actually criticized the decision to take out
Of course she did.
Qasem Soleimani.
She's a commie, a pinko.
It's really inexplicable. But with regard to Joe Biden, it's explainable. Because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the raid against Osama bin Laden.
Of course he did.
It's absolutely essential
Probably went there and got
that
money
we have
from
a
him too.
commander-in-chief who will not hesitate to act to protect American lives and to protect American service members, and that's what you have in President Donald Trump. Now, with regard to the Supreme Court of the United States, let me say President Trump and I could not be more enthusiastic about the opportunity to see Judge Amy Coney Barrett become Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States. And our hope is, in the hearing next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with treatment from you and others, we hope she gets a fair hearing. And we particularly hope that we don't see the kind of attacks on her Christian faith that we saw before. I mean, the Democrat chairman of the Judiciary Committee before, when Judge Barrett was being confirmed for the Court of Appeals, expressed concern that the dogma of her faith lived loudly in her. Dick Durbin of Illinois said that it was a concern. Senator, I know one of our judicial nominees you actually attacked because they were a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus, just because the Knights of Columbus holds pro-life views and
Thank you.
pro-marriage views.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
So
Your
my
time
hope
is
Again,
up.
is that
she
when the
cuts him
hearing
off
takes place,
anytime he
that-
tries
Thank you,
to
Vice President.
ask her
that
something.
Judge Amy Coney
She cuts
Barrett
him.
will
Yeah.
be respected,
Thank you,
treated
Vice President
respectfully,
Pence.
Yeah, thank you,
voted and
thank you.
confirmed
Thank
to the
you.
Supreme Court of the United States.
Senator Harris, you're the senator from and former Attorney General of California. So let me ask you a
Is that the
parallel
one she
question
was
to the
sleeping
one I
with?
posed to the Vice
I think it
President.
was, wasn't it?
If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want
Sleeping to get your job.
California to do? Would you want your home state to enact no restrictions on
we talk
access
about
to
that?
abortion? And you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you,
Here we
Susan.
go,
First of all,
uninterrupted.
Joe Biden and I are both people of faith,
Bullshit.
and it's insulting to suggest
You're
that we
you're
would
Hindu, first of all.
knock
You're
anyone
Hindu.
for their faith. And in
You're
fact,
Hindu.
Joe, if elected, will be only the second practicing Catholic as president of the United States. On the issue of this nomination, Joe and I are very clear, as are the majority of the American people.
Joe, when you were clear,
We are 27 days before the decision about who will be
She
the
did,
next president of the United States.
a round table recently,
you know,
what she
before
said, in my
when this conversation has
administration,
come up, you know, it's
I'll
been
be
about
doing this
election
and that
year or
as
election
president,
time.
and with Joe.
We're literally
She already
in
claims
an
she's the
election.
president.
Over 4 million people have voted. People are in the process of voting right now. And so Joe has been very clear, as the American people are. Let the American people fill that seat in the White House, and then we'll fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court. And to your point, Susan, the issues before us couldn't be more serious. There's the issue of choice, and I will always fight for a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. It should be her decision and not that of Donald Trump and the Vice President, Michael
That
Pence.
Trump will Trump
But let's
and
also
Pence.
look
It
at
should
what
be
else is
the-
before the court. It's the Affordable Care Act. Like, literally in the midst
You
of a
notice she
public
didn't say
health
she's
pandemic,
Catholic or religious.
when
did
over
she?
210,000
Biden.
people have died and 7 million people probably have what will be in the future considered a pre-existing condition because you contracted the virus.
Joe Biden and her
Donald
have
Trump is in
no
court right now trying to get rid of the
complete
Affordable Care Act.
support
And I said it
from
before, and it
our
bears repeating. This
police.
means
Zero.
that there will be no
Zero.
more protections if they win for people with
Law
pre-existing
and order
conditions.
over
This
chaos
means
and
that over
destruction.
20 million people will lose your coverage.
Bullshit.
It means that if you're under the age of 26, you can't stay on your parents' coverage anymore. And here's the thing. The contrast couldn't be more clear. They're trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden is saying, let's
She's trying
expand
to
coverage.
keep
Let's give
Obama's
you a choice
legacy,
of a
which
public
was
option or private coverage.
hideous.
Let's bring down premiums.
Senator
Let's
Harris.
lower Medicare eligibility to 60.
Gonna keep talking?
Thank you, Senator
That's true
Harris.
leadership.
You know, you mentioned earlier, Vice President Pence, that the president was committed to maintaining protections for people with pre-existing conditions.
Yes.
But you do have this court case that you are supporting, your administration supporting, that would strike down the Affordable Care Act. The president says President Trump says that he's going to protect people with pre-existing conditions, but he has not explained how he would do that. And that was one of the toughest nuts to crack when they were passing the Affordable Care Act. So tell us specifically, how would your administration protect Americans with pre-existing conditions to have access to affordable insurance if the Affordable Care Act is struck down?
Well, thank you, Susan. But let me just say, addressing
See
your very
that?
first
Thank
question.
you, Susan. Always polite.
I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life.
Wow.
I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And this is another one of those cases where there's such a dramatic contrast. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the
Up
way
to
up
9
to the
months.
moment of birth.
Ripping a baby out.
Late-term abortion. They want to increase funding to Planned Parenthood of America. Now, for our part, I would never presume how Judge Amy Coney Barrett would rule on the Supreme Court of the United States, but we'll continue to stand strong for the right to life. When you speak
She's
about
gonna be-
the Supreme Court, though, I
she's
think
gonna
the American
be-
people really deserve an answer, Senator Harris.
She's going to be elected to get into
Are you and
the-
Joe Biden going to pack the court if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed?
Yes.
I mean,
Are
there
you?
have been 29 vacancies on the Supreme Court during presidential election years, from George Washington to Barack Obama. Presidents have nominated in all 29 cases. But your party is actually openly advocating adding seats to the Supreme Court, which has had 9 seats for 150 years. If you
So
don't
they can
get
get
your
an
way, this is a
average, so
classic
they can
case of if
win.
you can't win by the rules, you're going to change the rules. Now, you've refused to answer the question. Joe Biden has refused to answer the question. So I think the American people would really like to know, if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States, are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864,
Well, I'd like you to
Obviously,
answer the
she's not
question.
going to
Yes,
answer
Vice
the
President,
question.
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking. I don't want to talk to you.
In 1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, certainly of the president, I assume of you also, Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election, and it was 27 days before the election, and a seat became open on the United States Supreme Court. Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate. But Honest Abe said it's not the right thing to do.
Really?
The American people
All the other ones
deserve
did.
to make the decision about who will be the next president of the United States. And then that person can select who will serve for a lifetime on the highest court of our land. And so Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body
It will
for
not
a
be.
lifetime.
It's going to
Thank
happen.
you.
We have the
Senator
votes.
Harris.
People, Susan,
And you're
are
just
voting
gonna have
right
to
now.
cry.
They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court
The big
if you don't
gotcha
get your way in
question.
this nomination.
She won't answer
Let's
it.
talk about
You
packing.
once
Come
again
on.
gave a non-answer.
talk-
Joe Biden gave a
She
non-answer.
cannot answer
The American
it.
people deserve a straight answer. And if
She
you haven't
cannot
figured it
answer
out yet,
it.
the straight answer is they are going
Son
to
of a
pack the
gun.
Supreme Court if they somehow win this election.
She
Man,
can't
women,
answer it.
I got to tell you, people across this country, if you cherish our Supreme Court, if you cherish the separation of powers, you need to reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd,
Yes.
re-elect President Donald
She
Trump.
can't
and we'll
say
stand by that
anything.
separation of powers
She can't
and
talk
9
about Green New
seats.
Deal, but although
Yeah,
she
let's
talks
talk
about the Green New
packing
Deal.
the court then. Let's talk about
Please.
the fact. Yeah, I'm about to.
She's going to pack the court.
So the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed the appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of appeal. People who are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent, are substandard.
You mean like
And do you
Obama,
know that of the
Biden,
50 people
Pelosi,
who President
Schumer,
Trump appointed to the Court
Warner.
of Appeals for lifetime
want me to keep going?
appointments, not one is
Yeah,
black?
that's what I thought.
This
not
is what they've been doing.
competent.
You want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Packing a
Let's
court,
go on
yeah.
and talk about
Well,
the issue
she
of
never
racial
answered-
justice.
I just want the record to reflect she never answered the question.
That's right. She
But
never
maybe in the
answered.
next debate, Joe Biden will answer the question.
Thank you-
But I think
thank
the
you.
American people know the answer.
Thank you, Vice
Yes.
President. In March, Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency room technician in Louisville, was shot and killed after police officers executing a search warrant in a narcotics investigation broke into her apartment. The police said they identified themselves. Taylor's boyfriend said he didn't hear them do that.
He shot
used
through
a
the
gun
door.
registered to him to fire
He
a
shot
shot,
through the
which
door.
wounded an officer. The officers then fired more than 20 rounds into the apartment. They say they were acting in self-defense. None of them have been indicted in connection with her death. Senator Harris, in the case of Breonna Taylor, was justice done? You have 2 minutes.
Of course
I
not.
don't
She's
believe
gonna-
so, and I've talked with Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, and her family, and her family deserves
Police officers
justice. She was
have
a
the
beautiful
right
young
to
woman.
defend themselves if
She
bullets are
had
flying
as her
through the
life goal
door.
to become a nurse, and she wanted to become an EMT to first learn
And the whole
what's
rumor
going
is
on
there was a no-knock
out on the
warrant,
street,
and then it changed
so
to
she
a
could
knock.
then
There was a knock at the
become a
front, the
nurse
back
and save
door,
lives. And her
and
life
he
was taken
barricaded himself in there. And then he shot
unjustifiably
through
and
the door.
tragically and violently.
That's the truth.
And it
okay?
just
and they
it
returned
brings
fire.
me to, the 8 minutes and
The
46
guy that shot
seconds
through shot
that
one of the
America
officers.
witnessed,
Okay,
during which an American man
American man.
was tortured and killed under the knee of an armed, uniformed police officer.
That has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with
And
anything
people
else.
around our
Everybody's
country,
denounced this.
of
Everybody has
every
denounced
race,
this.
Of
It was
every
wrong.
age, of every gender,
But they won't
perfect
talk about the
strangers to each
guy
other,
was on drugs.
marched
Did you know
shoulder to
that?
shoulder, arm in arm,
He had cocaine
fighting
and other things in his system.
for
And they
us
said
to
the
finally
kneeling on the
achieve that
neck did
ideal
not
of
kill
equal
him.
justice under law.
Think
And I
about
was
that.
a
It
part
did
of
not
those
kill him.
peaceful protests.
Something else did. The drugs or whatever.
And I believe strongly
Underlying condition.
that, first of all, we are never going to condone violence, but we always must fight for the values that we hold dear, including the fight to achieve our ideals. And that's why Joe Biden and I have said on this subject, look, and I'm a former career prosecutor. I know what I'm talking about.
You're
Bad
a former
cops are bad for good
prosecutor
cops.
that
We
put
need
people in
reform
jail
of our
and
policing
kept them in
America
jail to
and our
keep your-
criminal justice system,
your
which
high
is why
rate.
Joe and I will immediately ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George
They've already
Floyd
been
would be
banned.
alive today if we
They've
did that.
already been
We
banned,
will
ma'am. They've already been
require a
banned.
national registry for police officers who break the law. We will, on the issue of criminal justice reform, get rid of private prisons and cash bail, and
Thank
we
you.
will
We'll get rid of
decriminalize
prisons
marijuana,
so that
and
we
will-
basically
we will expunge the
let
records
people
of
out
those
of
who
jail.
have
Thank you,
been
Senator
convicted
Harris.
They
of
did that,
marijuana.
and
This is
Thank
the
you,
time
people
for
killed
leadership
people.
on a tragic issue
Senator Harris,
of
your time is
unarmed
up.
black
It's funny.
people in
This is coming
America.
from a
Thank you,
woman
Senator Harris.
who arrested
Vice
people
President Pence,
for
let me pose the same
little
question
crimes
to you.
and kept them in there
In the
for a
case
long
of Breonna
time.
Taylor,
He has
was
a
justice
shitty
done?
record.
You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, our heart breaks for the loss of any innocent American life. And the family of Breonna Taylor has our sympathies. But I trust our justice system, a grand jury that
And she
refused the
doesn't.
evidence. And it really is remarkable that as a former prosecutor,
That you don't trust them.
you would assume that an impaneled grand jury looking at
But
all
she
the
believes
evidence
that
got
she
it
was
wrong.
smoking
But
marijuana in college
entitled to your
and
opinion,
listening to
Senator.
Tupac. But Tupac
I think
hadn't even come out with a
with
record
regard
yet.
to George
She's
Floyd,
just a
there's no
liar.
excuse for what happened to George Floyd.
A liar.
And justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed.
She loves it.
I mean, it really is astonishing. Flora Westbrook is with us here tonight in Salt Lake City. Just a few weeks ago, I stood at what used to be her salon. It was burned to the ground by rioters and looters. And Flora is still trying to put her life back together. And I must tell you, this presumption that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that America is systemically racist, and that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities, is a great insult
A criminal
to the men
criminal.
and women who serve
Doesn't
in
matter
law
what
enforcement.
color,
And I want
creed,
everyone
or
to know who
race,
puts
or
on the
religion
uniform
they
of law
are.
enforcement every day.
If you're
that
breaking
President
the law,
Trump and I stand
that's
with
it.
you. And it is remarkable that when Senator Tim Scott tried to pass a police reform bill brought together a group of Republicans and Democrats. Senator
There
Harris,
is a fly or something
you got up
on
and walked out of the room.
his hair
And then you
right now.
filibustered Senator Tim Scott's bill on the Senate
hope he
floor
doesn't
that would
have
provided
COVID
new
on it.
accountability, new resources.
You see that?
But
There's
we
a
don't
fly
have to
right on
choose
top of his
between
head. And,
supporting law
that'll be the
enforcement,
big
improving
thing.
public safety, and supporting our African
Something
American
must be in his hair.
Thank you,
leaders
Vice
and
President.
all of our
Because the dog,
minorities.
fly
Under
got on
President
his
Trump's
head.
leadership,
Thank you,
we'll
Vice President
always
Pence.
stand with law enforcement, and we'll do what we've done
Vice
from day
President Pence,
one, and
thank
that is
you. Your time
improve
is
the
up.
lives of African Americans.
Thank you, Vice
Record
President
unemployment, record
Vice
investments in
President Pence, your time
education,
is
and we'll
up.
fight for school choice for all of our minorities.
Thank you, Vice
I'd
President.
like to respond.
Senator Harris.
Well,
I
she'd
will
like to
not sit here
respond.
and be lectured by the Vice President on what
Really?
it means to enforce the laws of our country. I am the only one on this stage who has personally prosecuted.
You prosecuted
Everything from
people
child
for
sexual
low
assault to
crimes,
homicide.
and you kept them in to keep your,
I'm the
your
only one on
rate
this
up
stage who
high.
has prosecuted the big banks for taking advantage of America's homeowners. I'm the only one on this stage
That
who
put
prosecuted
people
for
in
profit
jail
colleges for
and kept
taking
them in jail.
advantage of our
That's what you've
veterans.
done.
And the reality of this is that
You're nobody.
we are talking about an election in 27 days, where last week the President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
He did it. He did it there,
And
and he also did it the day after, the
It
day
wasn't
after, the
like
day
he
after,
didn't
the day
have a
after.
chance. He
Listen,
didn't do it, and then
you
he
are
doubled down. And then
American
he said, when
Indian
pressed,
From
Stand
the
back.
Middle East. Okay,
Stand
you are
by.
not black.
and
Your
this
mother
is a part of a
is
pattern.
your mother is from
of Donald
India.
Trump's.
Your father's from India, but he was
He
adopted,
called
given away, and
Mexicans
adopted
rapists and criminals.
in the Bahamas.
He instituted as his first
Okay.
act a Muslim
Come
ban.
on.
He, on the issue of Charlottesville,
Jamaican, I mean.
where people were peacefully protesting
He's Indian
the
and
need for racial
Irish.
justice, where a young woman was killed. And on the other side, there were neo-Nazis carrying tiki torches, shouting racial
That is her real
epithets,
hair coming out of her.
anti-Semitic slurs.
Not a curl,
And
not
Donald
nothing.
Trump, when asked about it, said there were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the president of the United
That was
States.
taken
and
out of
America, you
context.
deserve
We
better.
already know this.
Joe Biden will be a president who brings our country together.
Let's play some old tapes
and-
of Joe
and
Biden using
recognizes the
foul
beauty in
language
our
and
diversity
racist
and the fact
comments
that we
and
all have so much
protecting
more in common than
a
what separates us.
KKK
Vice
leader,
President Pence, let me give you a minute.
Grand
to respond.
Poobah.
Thank you, Susan. I
Let's play
appreciate
them.
that very much. You know, I think this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media so much in this country, Susan, is that you selectively edit, just like Senator Harris did, comments that President Trump and I and others on our side of the aisle make. I mean,
Yeah, they add
Senator
to it.
Harris conveniently omitted, after the president made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so repeatedly.
Yes.
You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American people. But you talk about having personally prosecuted. I'm glad you brought up your
Oh,
record.
please.
Thank you.
Let's go to this
I
record.
really need to make this point.
Yeah.
When you were
Well,
when
she
you
wants
were
to stop
DA
him.
in San Francisco, when you left office, African Americans were 19 times more likely to be prosecuted for minor drug offenses than whites and Hispanics. When you were Attorney General of California,
Thank you,
you
Vice President.
increased the
Keep
disproportionate
talking. She's going to try to
incarceration
cut
of
you
Thank
off
blacks
because
in
you're talking about her
California.
record.
You did nothing on criminal
Keep
justice reform
talking.
in California.
Keep talking,
You didn't lift
please.
a finger
Thank
to
you.
pass the First Step Act on
No,
Capitol
just
Hill.
keep going.
I mean, the reality is your record
Thank
speaks
you,
for
Vice
itself.
President
President
Pence.
Trump and I have fought for criminal justice reform.
Thank you, Vice President.
We fought
No.
for educational choice and
Let him
opportunities for
speak.
African Americans, all of our
Thank you,
minorities.
sir.
And we'll do it for 4 more
Thank you.
years.
You know, there is no more important issue than the final issue that we're going to talk about tonight, and that is the issue of the election
But
itself.
Susan, he attacked my record. I would like
It's
an
too
opportunity to
goddamn
respond.
bad.
Let me give you 30 seconds because we're running out of
I
time.
appreciate that. First of all, having served as the Attorney General of the state of California,
A shitty
the work
country, a
that I
shitty state.
did is a model of what our nation needs to do.
Really?
And we will be able to do under a Joe
Homeless,
Biden presidency.
people shitting
Our-
and taking drugs, shooting
Our
up in the
agenda
streets.
includes what this administration has failed to do.
That's what you want.
It will be about not only
Homelessness
instituting
and
a
crime.
ban on chokeholds and carotid holes.
Thank you.
Not only,
Thank you, Senator
I would
Harris.
like to
That's
go
it.
through,
These are
You're
points that
done.
you made earlier in the hour, and I want to talk about the election itself before we have to.
but I want to talk about the
Too
connection
bad.
between what Joe and I will do and my
Too
record.
goddamn
which
bad. Cut her
includes,
off.
I was the first statewide officer to institute a requirement that my agents would wear body cameras and keep them on full time. We were the first to initiate a requirement that there would be a
You still
training for
put
law
people in
enforcement
jail
on
for
implicit
nothing.
bias because yes, Joe Biden and I recognize that implicit bias does exist, Mr. Vice President, contrary to what you may believe. We did the work of instituting reforms that were about investing in reentry.
The only bias
This
I
is
know,
the
she
work
put
that
people
we have
in
done
jail
the
and
work
kept
we will
them in
do
jail
going
to keep
forward.
her
And again,
status
I
and
will
record
not be
high so
lectured
she can get into the
by the
position
Vice President
besides sleeping with
on
a
our record
her mentor.
of what we have done in terms of law
And
enforcement
destroying
and
a
keeping
marriage.
our communities
No one wants to
safe
talk
and
about
a
that.
commitment to reforming the criminal justice system of America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. And I'd like to pose I'd like you to respond first to the question on our final topic, the election itself. President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If your ticket wins and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what steps would you and Vice President Biden then take? What would happen next? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll tell you,
She's going
Joe
to
and
tell
I
you.
are, I think, particularly proud of the coalition that we've built around our campaign. We probably have one of the broadest coalitions of folks that you've ever seen in a presidential race. Of course, we have the support of Democrats, but also independents and Republicans. In fact, 7 members of President George W. Bush's cabinet are supporting our
Who
ticket.
cares about Bush? He
We
was
have
he
the
was
support
involved in running
Colin
cocaine.
Powell, Cindy McCain.
Don't you guys
John
know
Kasich,
about that? Bush Sr.
over
was
500
involved in
generals, retired generals,
the
and
cocaine
former
trade.
national security experts and advisors are supporting our campaign.
History,
and I believe
baby,
they are
history.
doing that because they know that Joe Biden has a deep, deep-seated commitment
His
to fight
seed,
for
all
our
right.
democracy.
A deep, dark
and to fight for
seed.
the
You got that
integrity
right.
of our democracy and to bring integrity back
Molesting
to the White House.
girls when you're going to go
And so
get a
we
game,
believe in the American people.
a gym
We believe
bag.
in our
He's trying to
democracy.
finger a girl.
And here's
Yeah.
what I'd like to say to everybody. Vote.
He's a rapist.
Please vote.
And a
vote
sniffer.
early. Come up with a plan to vote.
Joe
go to
Biden's a sniffer.
iwillvote.com. You can also go to
And
joebiden.com. We have
has
it
a
within our
record
power in these next 27 days to
of
make
putting
the
people in
decision
jail for
about
no
what will
reason
be
and
the course of our country for the next
destroying a
4
marriage.
years. And it is within our power, and if we
Yeah,
use our
destroying a
vote
marriage.
and we use our voice,
because she used
we will win.
her female
And we
parts
will not let anyone
to get
subvert
ahead.
our democracy with what Donald Trump
That's
has
what
been
she
doing,
did.
as he
And
did on the
she's
debate stage last week,
American
when
Indian.
again in front of 70 million people, he
Not Native,
openly
American Indian. That's what she is.
attempted
She's not
to
black.
suppress the vote.
Check it up.
Joe
Check
Biden,
the
on the
history.
other hand, on that same debate stage, because clearly Donald
Show me
Trump
one
doesn't think
feature
he can
on her
run
that
a record
the
because
nose
it's
is
a
not.
failed record.
She doesn't have
Joe
any
Biden
features.
on that stage said, hey, just please vote. So I'll repeat what Joe said. Please vote.
Yeah,
Thank you,
You'll repeat
Senator.
it. Okay.
Vice President Pence, President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election.
I thought this was the last
If Vice
question.
President Biden is declared the winner and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what would be your role and responsibility as Vice President? What would you personally do? You have 2 minutes.
Well, Susan, first and foremost, I think we're going to win this election
100%.
because while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris rattle off a long litany of the establishment in Washington, D.C. and
Rhinos.
establishment Joe Biden's
Rhinos,
been a
we
part
call
of
them.
for 47 years,
They're on the take.
President
okay?
Donald Trump has launched a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. And I have every confidence that those same Americans that delivered that historic victory in 2016, they see this president's record where we rebuild our military, we revived our economy through tax cuts and rolling back regulation, fighting for fair trade, unleashing American energy.
Yep.
We appointed conservatives to our federal courts at every level. And we stood with the men and women of law enforcement every single day. And I think that movement of Americans has only grown stronger in the last 4 years. But when you talk about accepting the outcome of the election, I must tell you, Senator, your party has spent the last 3.5 years trying to overturn the results of the last election.
That's correct.
It's amazing.
And they were caught.
When Joe Biden was Vice
red-handed.
President of the United States,
The Russian
The FBI
collusion was
actually
bullshit.
spied on
It was actually
President Trump
Hillary
and my
Clinton,
campaign.
and it was
I mean, there were
reported to
documents released
FBI
this
that
week
they
that
were
the
doing
CIA
this.
actually made a
and
referral
FBI, Comey.
to the FBI documenting that
Yes.
those allegations were coming from the Hillary Clinton campaign. Of course,
Yes.
we've all seen the avalanche, what you put the country through for
3.5
the better
years.
part of 3 years, until it was found that there was no obstruction, no collusion, case
And it was
closed.
made up by
And
Hillary
then
Clinton.
Senator Harris, you and your colleagues in the
And
Congress
Joe Biden.
tried to impeach
Who
the
was
president
part
of
of
the
it.
United States over a phone
and
call.
Obama were part of it.
And now Hillary Clinton has actually said to Joe Biden that in her words, under no circumstances should he concede the election. So
Yeah, no
let me just say, I
circumstances.
think we're going to win this election. President Trump and I are fighting every day in courthouses to prevent Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from changing the rules and creating this universal mail-in voting that'll create
Yeah,
a massive
that
opportunity
mail-in
for
voting is
voter fraud.
bullshit.
And we have a free and fair election. We know we're going to have confidence in it. And I believe in all my heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
You know, I've written all the questions that I've asked tonight, but for the final question of the debate, I'd like to read a question that someone else wrote. The Utah Debate Commission asked students in the state to write essays about what they would like to ask you. And I want to close tonight's debate with the question posed by Brecklin Brown. She's an 8th grader at Springville Junior High in Springville,
can't even
Utah.
vote, but
And here's
okay.
what she wrote, quote, "When I watch the news, all I see is arguing between Democrats and Republicans. When I
Yes.
watch the news, all I see is citizen fighting against citizen. When I watch the news, all I see are 2 candidates from opposing parties trying to tear each other down. If our leaders can't get along, how are the citizens supposed to get along?" And then she added, "Your examples could make all the difference to bring us together," end quote. So to each of you in turn, I'd like you to take 1 minute and respond to Brecklin. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute.
Brecklin, it's a wonderful question. And let me
Politics
just
is
commend you
tough,
for
man.
taking an interest in public life. I started following the news when I was very young. And in America, we believe in a free and open exchange of debate. And we celebrate that. And it's how we've created literally the freest and most prosperous nation in the history of the world. But I would tell you that don't assume that what you're seeing on your local news networks is synonymous with the American people. You know, I look at the relationship between Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late justice who we just lost from the Supreme Court, and the late Justice Antonin Scalia.
They got along.
They were on polar opposites on the Supreme Court of the United States. One very
they were
liberal,
friends.
one very conservative. But what's been learned since her passing was the 2 of them and their families were the very closest of friends. I mean, here in America, we can disagree. We can debate vigorously, as Senator Harris and I have on this stage tonight. But when the debate is over, we come together as Americans. And that's what people do in big cities and small towns all across this country. So I just want to encourage you, Brecklin. I want to tell you that we're going to work every day to have government as good as our people. And the American people each and every day
Perfect
love a good
answer.
debate. We love a good
Perfect
argument.
answer.
But we always come together and are always there for one another
Thank you,
in
Vice
times of
President.
need. And we've especially learned that
Thank you,
through
Mr.
the
Vice President.
difficulties of this year.
Senator Harris, what would you say to Brecklin?
Let's see if she copies his shit.
First of all, I love
She's
hearing
not a
from our young
speaker.
leaders. And when I hear her words, when I hear your words, Brecklin,
Brecklin?
I know our future is bright because it is that perspective on who we are and who we should be.
She needs to
that
get
is
her
a sign
bottom
of
tooth
leadership
checked.
and is
It's got
something
a
we
big
should all
black
aspire
mark
to
in it.
be. And that brings
could
me
be
to
losing
Joe.
a tooth.
Joe Biden, one of the reasons that Joe decided to run for president is after Charlottesville, which we talked about earlier. It so troubled him and upset him, like it did all of us, that there was that kind of hate and division.
Really?
What propelled Joe to run for president was to see that over the
He
course of
wouldn't
the
have-
last
he
4
wouldn't
years,
denounce
what
the
Brecklin
rioting
described has
or
been happening.
Antifa.
Joe has a long-standing reputation of working across the aisle.
Joe has a
working in a
long-standing
bipartisan way.
reputation of doing nothing.
And that's what he's going to do
also,
as president. Joe Biden has a history
copying other people's
of
speeches.
lifting people
word for
up
word, by the way.
and fighting for their dignity.
That's what he
You
has.
have to know Joe's story to know that Joe has known pain, he has known suffering, and he has known love.
Yeah,
And
from
so,
other women he tried to
Brecklin, when you
get by
think about the
molesting them.
future, I do believe the future is bright. And it will be because of your leadership, and it will be because we fight for each person's voice through their vote, and we get engaged in this election because you have the ability through
She's
your
8 years
work
old. She's
and
not getting in
through
this election.
eventually your
She's 8
vote
years old.
Thank you,
to
sir.
Although with the
determine
open
the
ballot,
future
she
of
probably
our
can put her
country
name down.
and what its leadership looks like.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you, Vice President Pence. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We want to thank also the University of Utah for its hospitality, and most of all,
Slam
our
dunk.
thanks to all the Americans who watched this debate tonight.
CNN
Again,
and
our
all
best
these will
wishes
say
for a
that,
quick recovery to
that
President
Kamala
Trump,
Harris
the
held
First
up and she
Lady,
did a
and
great job.
everyone
I
who
don't
is
think so.
battling COVID-19. The second presidential debate is next week on October 15th.
And Trump
a town
will
hall
be
style
there
debate
at the
in
next
Miami. We hope you'll join us then.
Debate. He'll
Good
be
evening.
there without a doubt. All right, I want to take a quick break, but then I will be back. I'm going to switch this to this. Give me a second. Okay, where is this? Okay, I'll be on the right back. Starting soon. Okay, let me put this back on. I know I have a standby. Where is that at? Okay, so let me get rid of this. Okay, and then I'm going to put this up temporarily. I'll put this one right here, overlay. Okay. All right, there was the debate for the vice president. I don't believe that Kamala Harris had anything to stand on. It's hard to go against what's happened. I mean, we have a president that actually got COVID-19, which a lot of the people in the White House or around him got it, and he did the recommended drugs plus an experimental drug, and he ended up coming out of it. He's doing quite well. And if this works, and all the tests show that it is, that he's going to make it free, and anybody that wants to take this drug, which Biden and Kamala Harris say, don't take this drug, or don't take any medicine that they come up with for like the flu or anything, because unless scientists say it is. Remember, he has scientists that have given him the drugs and doctors. All right, let me see what else we can get to. I'm gonna keep going here. I'm gonna get out of this, and I'd like to talk about. Let's see what this is. All right, let's see what this is. Okay. All right, I'm gonna come down here.
The Director of National Intelligence has declassified.
Okay, so you remember when we were just talking a little while ago, and let's see what we got here. Okay, so this is basically some news that happened yesterday, and then they talked about it today. But let's hear about the latest about this. What's happening with the Obama and Hillary spying on the campaign and also being caught. So here we go.
The Director of National Intelligence has declassified documents today revealing former CIA Director John Brennan briefed then-President Obama on Hillary Clinton's purported plan to smear then-candidate Trump in 2016, adding to what the National Intelligence Director has already declassified on this issue, and raising more questions tonight about how much more of this will come out before Election Day. Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel is following the story tonight in Washington. Good evening, Mike.
Brett, good evening. These are handwritten notes from former CIA Director John Brennan, written according to a source familiar after Brennan briefed President Obama. At one point, Brennan writes, quote, approved by Hillary Clinton, a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security service. The notes say on 28 of July, in the margin, Brennan writes POTUS, but that section of the notes are redacted. Then it says any evidence of collaboration between Trump campaign and Russia. The remainder of the notes are redacted,
knew all about this.
Except in the margins where it says JC, Dennis, and Susan. That could be referring to former FBI Director James Comey, former Obama Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice.
About it. It was
the
all
CIA sent a memo
job.
to former FBI Director James Comey and Peter Strzok writing, quote, the following information is provided for the exclusive use of your Bureau for background investigative action or lead purposes as appropriate. One example the CIA includes, quote, an exchange redacted discussing U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private email server. At a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee last week, Comey was pressed on what he did with information provided by the CIA.
Did you open an investigation?
I don't know what that refers to. As I said earlier, that does not ring any bells with me when I read that.
Well,
you did not receive any investigative referral of this nature?
Bastard.
I don't remember it. I don't remember receiving anything that's described in that letter.
Clinton said. I wasn't
Hillary Clinton
aware.
spokesman Nick Merrill has called the latest revelation, quote, baseless BS.
The director of national.
Alrighty. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to just start the music. Let me see. I'm going to take a quick break after all that. Okay, I'm just going to turn this on like this and run some music, and I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. I just got to get these overlays taken back out. Okay. All right, so I wanted so we just had the VP debate. I don't think Kamala Harris had a leg to stand on. She was kind of trying to introduce herself to the media, but in actuality, I think she was trying to say that I'm going to be the president and this is me, me, me. So, people are concerned about the president and everything, but I think what we need to find out is they're like, oh, will he be able to do it next week? I guess next Tuesday or whatever, will the president show up? So this got released today. I wanted people to see it.
But I spent 4 days there, and I went in, I wasn't feeling so hot, and within a very short period of time, they gave me Regeneron. It's called Regeneron, and other things too, but I think this was the key. But they gave me Regeneron, and it was like unbelievable. I felt good immediately. I felt as good 3 days ago as I do now. You have various other drugs that help a lot, but these, I view these, I know they call them therapeutic, but to me it wasn't therapeutic, it just made me better, okay? I call that a cure. So I want to get these things done. So we have to get them done, we have to get them approved, and I want to get them to the hospitals where people are feeling badly. That's much more important to me than the vaccine. It's a cure. For me, I walked in, I didn't feel good. A short 24 hours later, I was feeling great. I wanted to get out of the hospital. And that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to be given the same treatment as your president, because I feel great. I feel
for free,
like
by the way.
Perfect.
No charging. Free.
I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it. This was a blessing in disguise. I caught it. I heard about this drug. I said, let me take it. It was my suggestion. I said, let me take it. And it was incredible the way it worked. Incredible. And I think if I didn't catch it, we'd be looking at that like a number of other drugs. But it really did a fantastic job. I want to get for you what I got, and I'm going to make it free. You're not going to pay for it.
Free.
We're waiting for the emergency use authorization, and the drug companies have just made a lot of it. So hopefully this is going to be not just a therapeutic, it's going to be much more than a therapeutic. You're going to get better, you're going to get better fast, just like I did. So again, a blessing in disguise. Good luck.
We're going to begin tonight with...
Okay, so...
But I spent 4 days there, and...
Okay, so basically he's saying that what they gave him with some other therapeutical drugs, that he started feeling better right away, and he's been back home for at least a day or so in the White House now, and he's doing little things out in the Rose Garden or whatever by himself, you know. Everybody's protected and everything, but he'll be there for the debate next week. I know Biden's already said that I don't think we should have a debate because I think he's still affected. Well, he'll be checked, and if he doesn't have the virus in him or anything, this debate will go on. Okay? But I think they're going to do whatever they can. They got to keep Sleepy Joe in his basement. Sleepy Joe. Okay? So I'm going to jump topics. Just a little quick thing.
Eddie Van Halen's death.
Yeah, Eddie Van Halen died this week. When I was growing up, Eddie Van Halen, the Van Halen, and they were a force to be reckoned with. At that time, he was considered to be one of the best guitarists, not of all times, but that's at that time they said he was. But just a little tribute to Eddie Van Halen and stuff. Let's just check this out.
Came as a shock to the world on October 6th, 2020. Often credited as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, Van Halen and his brother Alex Van Halen formed the band that would share their name in 1972. Eddie's playing became one of the defining sounds of the late 1970s and 1980s, with the band featuring heavily on MTV and ushering a wave of big hair and hard rock to the forefront of pop music. News of Eddie Van Halen Halen's death broke on social media when his son, Wolfgang Van Halen, tweeted that his father, quote, lost his long and arduous battle with cancer. As the world comes to grips with the loss of a music industry titan, people are looking back on what Eddie Van Halen left behind, including a touching final post on social media. Though Eddie Van Halen was not a particularly active social media user, he did take to Instagram and Twitter every once in a while to share good news and life updates, mostly posting about his family. Eddie's final post on both platforms was not about himself, but actually went out to his brother and bandmate Alex Van Halen, wishing him a happy birthday on May 8th, 2020. It's fitting that Eddie's final message was to his brother, as the two spent their entire lives making music together, playing to sold-out audiences around the world for nearly 5 decades. The brothers were both born in Amsterdam and moved to California as children, where they learned guitar and drums at the prompting of their father, who was a professional musician himself. And the band Van Halen remained a family affair right to the end, with Eddie's son Wolfgang joining the group in 2006 on bass while still a teenager.
He had rhythm, and I went, yes, God, thank you, he's got rhythm.
Fittingly, just as Eddie's last social media posts were a shout-out to his brother, his next-to-last Instagram message was to his son. On March 16, 2020, Eddie shared a baby picture of Wolfgang with warm wishes for his birthday. He captioned the photo, "The best day of my life. Happy birthday, Wolf. I love you so much. Your Pop." And this birthday message for his son wasn't just a one-time deal. Eddie made sure to take to social media year after year to guarantee the whole world knew how much he loved his son. The father and son duo were very close, making Wolfgang's message about his father's death on social media that much sadder. Wolfgang wrote in part, "He was the best father I could ever ask for. Every moment I've shared with him on and off stage was a gift. My heart is broken, and I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this loss." There was one other member of his family that Eddie Van Halen regularly posted about on social media, his beloved dog, Cody. Eddie's tiny Pomeranian was clearly the musician's furry pride and joy. Eddie had the pup for over a decade and shared a few snippets of his life in luxury, complete with cute memes. Cody was on hand to help his dad barbecue some hot dogs on the 4th of July in 2017 and stick his nose up at a Thanksgiving meal that was decidedly not turkey. Cody even had his own Facebook page with more than 11,000 followers. Cody's family frequently shares photos at home and funny anecdotes about life, keeping things light and fun despite the health struggles Eddie endured for the past several years. In between Instagram pictures of Cody, Eddie managed to keep his social media posts upbeat and positive, spreading nothing but love around to his friends, family, and fans. His positive attitude and bright outlook on life, not to mention his immense impact on the music industry, will be greatly missed. Eddie.
Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. All right. I'm just going to go for some of these other ones that I had in here. Let's see. Now, originally, we've had some stories about, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. What looks like there's been some, she's in jail now, quote unquote, supposedly. And they say that she's in jail and she's getting lawyers all the time and trying to stop all this videos and all these other things that they've gotten from Epstein's different homes and stuff, even Epstein Petal Island. But now, you want to hear the kicker, is wait till you see what her and the new lawyer she's got and what she's got going on. Let's see what that's all about.
All right, Anthony on Air podcast back for another episode. Ghislaine Maxwell has hired a lawyer who defended Osama bin Laden's henchmen in the past.
Did you hear that? Her new lawyer, because she wasn't getting what she wanted, this woman, Maxwell, she came from multi-million-dollar wealth family, used to getting whatever she wants. And before I said that I believe that Epstein had all his flaws and everything, and he was a pedophile and he liked young girls. But I think that the only one she got these connections is Maxwell had all these connections to the prince and all these other people. That I think she was the main person. So let's go on.
So, oh my God, that's amazing. Also, we have this new bizarre.
Do you see the look on this lady's face? that her new lawyer is the one that defended Osama bin Laden.
Our AI advertisement, and Howard Stern is nearing in on a new deal with SiriusXM. So we will go through all of that. Jay Sabs and Frankie C are here with us on this episode, which is brought to you by our good pals over at Hero Soap Company. Check out their link in the description, and we'll talk about those guys in a little bit. So Ghislaine Maxwell has hired a new lawyer to add to her already robust lawyer team. And this young lady last represented one of Osama bin Laden's henchmen. Bobby Sternheim is her name. Bobby is a B-O-B-B-I.
Sternheim.
She filed
Jewish.
papers on Monday in New York Southern District Court to note that she hereby appears as counsel for defendant Ghislaine Maxwell. Sternheim's law firm, Fasulo, Braverman, and DiMaggio, called her a, quote, recognized leader in the local and national criminal defense bar for litigating difficult and complex cases. She is the first and still only woman to get New York Criminal Bar Association's award for excellence in the profession, the firm boasts on her online bio. Her bio notes, Bobby has tried international organized crime and racketeering conspiracies, international terrorism offenses, international telemarketing fraud, capital murder, and interstate transport of pornographic media.
She sounds fucking wonderful.
And she also holds top secret /SCI clearance.
What does that tell you?
Ooh. I don't know what that means.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why would she hold that?
It sounds important.
The bin Laden henchman is Khalid al-Fawaz, and she represented him and remains representing him in his 2015 trial over the 1998 bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa that killed 224 people.
They were soldiers, I believe.
So he's in jail and she's still his lawyer.
He's the salt of the earth, and why not defend him?
I guess so. I thought that was all said and done.
If
but
that
this is
doesn't
Bobby.
make your blood boil.
Everybody wants to meet Bobby. She looks feisty. She looks difficult.
She looks. Whoa!
It looks like she wouldn't
looks
go
like
down
the
without
fucking
a fight.
crib keeper.
Yeah, she looks like she could be a problem.
Hey.
She looks like a Gia pet.
How do you,
dealing with some heavy hitters out there?
How I want to know how Bobby sleeps at night. Like that's what I want to know. Like how do you?
Come on. Chloroform usually.
I mean, being like a defense attorney must be a difficult thing, you know. But to be like, oh, the terrorist bomber guy, yeah, no problem. I'll take that on.
I'll take him.
Yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, everybody is entitled to a defense, but yeah, that's not an easy gig.
No.
She also represented other terrorists, including Min Kwang Pham, who admitted to a plot of blowing up London's Heathrow Airport and was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
So she's not on a winning streak with these guys.
No,
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that when you take on these terrorists as a client, I don't think
expect the greatest outcome.
Well,
I don't think
he's
you
not going to say it. I'm
defense
going to
state.
say it.
Yeah,
Terrorist.
I don't know.
Pedophiles. They all
got the wrong guy,
should be arrested and put in jail with the key thrown away.
I think like let me finish Frank's sentence for him. Yeah, I think their best case. I think their best case scenario is, I'm here to watch this whole trial, make sure you get a fair trial, and if anything happens, any technicality pops up, I'm going to be there to pounce on it.
Yeah.
You all right, Jimmy?
Any like unusual punishments or anything cruel, anything over the top, there's got to be someone there speaking for them legally.
Legally, they have somebody's got to sign up for this,
right now.
right? Like somebody's got to be there. Like
that's what happens when
they
you
can
have
represent themselves. A lot of them can't, So legally, yeah.
But they can turn.
So just so everybody realizes where I'm coming from, this is episode 7, but I started with the Epstein and how he got killed, and I was worried that Ghislaine Maxwell was going to be quote unquote suicide, but then no one could find out. No one even saw arresting pictures or whatever. And then I started looking to her. Then I looked into her father, which used to be a multi-millionaire person. He's dead now, found outside floating in the water by his yacht. And basically, he was the head of a huge shipping corporation where he embezzled the workers' money. So he ended up being fish bait. So, but this guy was a conniver just like she was. That's why I believe she is actually the kingpin in this. And I got another thing to show you that she was. When she claims that, oh, it was Epstein doing everything and I didn't know nothing about it. When I play this other video, you're going to find out a little something, and it's brand new too. So let's continue with this.
Them down, right? I mean, a defense attorney doesn't have to take the job.
No, they especially. I mean, a public defender has to take it, I believe, or they have a few, so one of them's got to take it.
Money's the root of all evil.
But for the most part,
it's for money.
Yeah. I mean, she's
what I'm wondering is how did she get paid? Like the terrorist is going to pay her with whatever money. Like illegal, I don't know. I'm sure that she's got to get paid somehow, right?
Well, sometimes lawyers see a really public case and they'll take it pro bono. They'll take it for free so they can get exposure. This, like everybody complains about Donald Trump. Well, he's always getting the media and we have to pay for it. Well, exposure is worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Airtime, exposure sometimes is another way. Once people see you in the limelight, they go, oh, I saw that guy. He was defending that person. I need to get him. And then all of a sudden, his mediocre business gets very high. We had that here with one of our lawyers, that Dr. Death, if you remember that, right? Dr. Death, that was the lawyer that defended him pro bono. And then now, he's a slime bucket, trust me. But he owns a big firm now. So sometimes they do it so they can get more of the limelight and get exposure.
No. A lot of them take the case to have a high-profile case and not get paid.
That's true. That is true. Some of them will take it because, but they only do that because they know that other people are going to hire them, and then they're going to make a ton more money that way.
Said this
exactly.
So
that's true.
I mean, you're still heading down this odd road of just taking blood money, essentially. I mean, who wants to take terrorist money or sex trafficker money?
You know what they say about lawyers, right?
It's like the people, defending Maxwell
what do you
or
call
Epstein. You're being
600 lawyers 6 feet
made
deep,
their money
a good start. So.
Not in the greatest way.
Casey Anthony, yeah. She is not the only high-profile lawyer that Ghislaine Maxwell has. The 58-year-old British media heiress also hired Christian Everdale, who spent more than a decade as an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District Court of New York, and helped bring down drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
Oh,
wow.
So
El
Christian
Chapo
was on the other side.
There.
He was on the right side on that one, yeah. And then came over to the dark side
well,
for
money talks,
this
bullshit walks,
case.
you know?
So we'll see what happens there.
I wonder what their defense is. Like what are they going to do? They're going to talk. They're going to sit down with her and go, all right, here's your defense. And then they have to come out with something. They have to actually come up with a plan. Like it's either plead guilty and get some kind of weird deal, or somehow they're going to have to convince people that she's innocent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a tall order for any attorney.
I mean, I can't imagine another defense other than I was a victim too, and that's why.
Oh yeah, that's going to be it.
Right.
It's got to be.
I was victimized early on at a young age and didn't know any better, and then did all these things. None of it was my fault. Please
and I couldn't get out. I was afraid to get out.
Yep.
I can't imagine what other route is there. I can't even.
I agree. Obviously, this woman probably was assaulted, molested all her life, and she believes that this is how you love someone or how you show affection. So, I mean, do I believe that she just made this stuff up or Epstein talked her into it and she liked it? I think that she had serious issues and personal problems also.
Imagine another route. But by the way, like we talked to Dylan Howard about this, and we'll put a link in the descriptions on YouTube for that interview. And you know, he believed that Ghislaine was going to cut a deal. I think that this girl coming in means that she's going for it. I don't think she's going to cut a deal.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
You know, I don't think you start.
I mean,
go ahead. I was going to say, I don't think you start bringing on these high-profile lawyers just to cut it. I mean, maybe, but this other guy, Christian's already, he used to work where she's on trial, so he's already probably got a relationship with all the prosecutors. So,
well, I agree with that, but bringing in this other lawyer and having high-paid lawyers that basically get people off that are the scum of the earth may help her get a lighter sentence, or you've seen it before, get a sentence where she's house arrest for 5 years or whatever. So she's trying to survive right now. And I believe right now, Hillary and Bill Clinton and a bunch of the other people that were involved, and I'm talking about you, Chris Wallace, that we just now seen you and Clooney at Epstein Island. There's pictures, buddy. So all your buttholes are clenching right now because you're afraid shit's going to go in it. Well, I hope it does. Okay?
So if you want to cut a deal and have good graces there, you've already got that element in place, you know?
Right. I don't know. I mean, to cut a deal at this, I mean, it's either taking a very long time to come up with this deal, or there's not going to be a deal.
No, I don't think it is.
Well, remember, they're talking about the deal. Well, first of all, they've already announced they're not going to do this to the middle of next year. I don't know, 6-7 months from now. And if COVID continues or anything like that, it might even get pushed further. Okay? And mark my words, I just thought about this just a second. How ironic would it be? Oh, she can't testify. She's got COVID and she needs to be quarantined. Mark my words, something like that shit's going to happen. Because now, just like everybody else, they can do this. They can use this as another excuse. I don't like who you've got on the jury. I don't like this. I think I got COVID, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. So, all right, let's see where we're at. I say no deal. Janine?
No deal.
Frank?
I don't think there's going to be a deal.
You think they're going right to trial?
With something this heinous of a crime, you know, this, how could...
Okay, I disagree with all three of these people. For the simple fact is that you don't bring in even the bigger lawyer to not work a deal. Because if you weren't going to work a deal, you could do whatever. I think that she's working a deal, but she wants to make sure that it's less as possible. Probation, or she was a victim, even though that when I show you this video in a little bit, you're going to get a different thing now. This is an investigative reporter that works in London that's went all through the Epstein situation and with the prince and everything. And he's had a lot of people on his show. And he's going to talk to this lady. When I get done with it, he's going to talk to this lady that knows Ghislaine Maxwell very well. Let me finish this up, and then we'll go to that.
How could you cut a deal? It's you give us what you... Well, then what's stopping her from not turning over and giving everything up?
Yeah. So the Epstein probe, Frank, you asked a little while ago if that is still ongoing. It is still ongoing. And prosecutors now who are prosecuting Epstein, okay, even though he's dead, they are trying to prevent Ghislaine's lawyers from getting any information in her trial. So they have a bunch of stuff to turn over. They're not this is not document dump, by the way. This is just discovery. They have a bunch of stuff to turn over to Ghislaine's lawyers, right? They're trying not to give it to her until a couple of weeks before the trial. And legal experts are saying they're doing this move because more arrests are expected. So the reason why they don't want to tip their hand onto who's involved to the Ghislaine people is because more people are going to be brought down, they believe, before her trial starts.
Okay, so also he's talking about some other things. So another thing that happened is that they're talking about the Epstein case. He's already, quote unquote, suicided himself. That's bullshit. But here nor there. Somebody got to him, okay? But the courts assigned a judge, and this judge she hadn't done the case yet, to find out about the Dutch bank and stuff where he was doing a lot of his dealings in. Well, this judge got assigned, and about a week later, a person showed up to this judge's house disguised as a FedEx worker. The son opened the door. The FedEx driver shot him in the chest and killed him. Shot up the father, but I guess they had their offices in the basement, and that guy took off, and the mother wasn't harmed. The son was dead, and as of right now, I don't know if he made it or not. The father, he may have. I didn't see it in the paper, but I'm just telling you, that was a judge picked by the courts to handle the case, to find out where Epstein was getting his money. Do you understand that? Now, because this happened, he didn't kill everybody. They're going to go deeper. They're going to find out more and more. And I'm telling you, these Hollywood and the elite, their buttholes are crinching. They're tightened up tighter than one of those jars that you can't fucking open. And they're worried about some large cylinder object going in it, which is going to happen because they're going to go to prison. Now, you might find some of these people are going to off themselves, or if people know of somebody, those people end up gone too. So I think we're almost done with this. I'm going to switch over to the other one soon.
So that's a hopeful thing. I know it may not look good to be like, oh, evidence not being turned over, it's being kept a secret, but I actually think that this is a good thing because more people are going to get arrested.
Bring them down, baby.
Can you take a guess as to what Howard Stern is going to...
Okay, so we're done with this one now. Don't care about Howard Stern. He says he's not a liberal, but he leans more liberal. Okay, so I'm going to try to go to this other thing that I captured earlier. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. And it's basically about, let's see, I can find it here. Okay, now this is one of them. This is the, hold on, I got to find the right one. This might be it right here. Okay, you guys ready? Now remember we were talking about this, and Ghislaine Maxwell has always said that she's a victim too, and she was never involved. I've shown videos earlier. Remember, this is only episode 4. I'm just starting out in this. I hope everybody can hear me and hear what I put out. So watch this.
But we got this story coming out now about a New York Epstein victim. Quote, "She was the monster behind it all," claiming that Ghislaine Maxwell gagged, restrained, and beeped her before Epstein joined in when she went to give him a massage at age 21. This is a former student in New York City coming forward. She's going by the pseudonym Samantha. She's now 48. Says she was just a 21-year-old student at Parsons School of Design in Manhattan when she was recruited by another student to visit Epstein's mansion to give him a massage for money. She's speaking out for the first time, and she's claiming, as many of the people on our guests on the Epstein playlist have claimed, that Maxwell was the power in the criminal
fucking
duo,
power,
the
people.
mastermind.
The fucking power. I told
This
you
woman
this.
is claiming that Maxwell was the mastermind behind
This came out
the
today.
trafficking, and she's given this interview to The Sun. Quote,
October 7th, 2020.
"The last time I saw them, Maxwell got a hold of me, restrained my arms behind my back, and put a ball gag in my mouth, and then beeped me with a beep toy.
Fucked her.
Then she called Epstein in, and he joined in. I was terrified. I couldn't do anything to stop them.
Yeah, she was tied up.
She said the horrific abuse stole her life, left her traumatized, ruined her studies and career aspirations. Quote, I feel she was the monster. She was the one behind it all.
I called it.
Well,
right back on episode
she is
2.
behind the bars and walls of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
That's allegedly. Right, we don't know that.
Samantha first came to know Epstein when a friend invited her to come to a rich guy's house because he was interested in her design work. Quote, he apparently was interested in having some design work done in his house, and he also wanted good-looking girls to give him a massage. Once there, she met Epstein, gave him the massage, described him as pleasant. Quote, he was talking to me about my school and design stuff, and then asked if I was interested in doing some work in his house. Then he flipped over and he wasn't approaching me in a sexual way, but towards the end he started touching himself, pleasuring himself, which ties in with the method of operation from the police
That's
report
his standard.
early
He goes
on in the
over, if
Epstein
she's
playlist.
not interested, he starts jerking it.
How
what a
it did start out as a normal
piece of
massage,
shit.
and when he flipped over onto his front facing upwards, the assault would begin, and whatever he could get away with, he would get away with, and just try and take it all away if he could. But if the girls put up resistance, he would just pay them off or try to hire them as recruiters. She went back to massage him 3 or 4 times from the end of 93 to the beginning of 94, and each time he would, let's just say, manually please himself, and she would get paid around $300 to $400. Around the 4th or 5th visit, Samantha met Maxwell for the first time, who then took her out to procure. Quote, she had this accent and she said something about me being too old and how he preferred blonde hair, I had dark hair. Together they went to a local high school where Maxwell approached girls on the street and asked them if they were interested in modelling. Quote, and then she'd say something like, I have a very wealthy man that I worked for that has great influence in that fashion world and can help your career. And she'd get members that way. I was so uncomfortable with that, Samantha said. Samantha said she found a student at her school who agreed to do a massage, and she urged her to lie about her age to be younger. She was 19, but I told her to say she was 16. She went to meet him and I didn't speak to her after, so I didn't know how it went. Soon after, I got a call to go to Epstein, and Maxwell answered that time and took me to the massage room, which is where she started yelling at me and screaming, you dirty, filthy, beep, lying, beep,
bitch.
She was mad at me because of telling the other girl to lie about her age. The next thing I knew, she had a ball gag in my mouth, my hands around my back, and she was beeping me with a beep toy.
Dildo.
She'd taken my clothes off. It all happened so fast I was stunned before Epstein joined in. Maxwell gave her $300 after the encounter and threatened her against going to the police.
Of course she did.
I remember her saying, don't think about going to the authorities because you won't be alive to see your day in court, or something like that.
Sounds familiar.
Samantha later found out that the girl she recruited with Epstein was assaulted during her visit and she felt consumed with guilt. Samantha eventually left New York to move to Los Angeles, where she became a worker in the sex industry.
Turned
It's
her
changed
out,
my
and
life
now she's
completely.
a sex yeah.
I was going to school for design, I had a future, and then I go to LA and I get into the sex trade. I've never been married, it's affected everything she said. It's extremely traumatic when something like that happens and you're not the same person after it happens. Then there's just the embarrassment of it. I hid it from everyone. She said she only felt safe to come forward following Maxwell's arrest and now wants her to be held to justice. Quote, I want to see her be punished. I don't want her to die. I think Epstein got away too easily by killing himself. And her attorney, Spencer Cuvin, represents several Epstein victims, confirmed he is representing Samantha and plans to submit an application to the compensation fund on her behalf. Quote, I do believe that Miss Maxwell was someone who just as perverted and twisted as Mr. Epstein, Cubin said to The Sun.
Now remember, if you've ever watched any of my shows earlier, since episode 2, I've been saying all along that after finding out about her her father, the embezzler, she probably was molested, and this is her way of life. But I knew that she's the one that had all the money, all the connections to the movie stars, to the princes in Buckingham Palace, and all this stuff. And also had the clientele to have sex with all these young women. So I knew that she was this way, and this is just another confirmation of that she's the mastermind.
Speaking on Samantha's case, he said, I never got a chance to depose Maxwell on the cases that occurred 12 years ago, but I can tell you that during the police investigation and search of Mr. Epstein's home, various different sexual devices were procured in that home, which included things that could be used in sadomasochistic type activity. And we know from the House
Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So I hope Samantha gets her claim in and gets some justice. And researching more and more about Ghislaine Maxwell and the Maxwell family history, and hearing some other testimonies of people who knew the family.
Her father was a piece of shit.
Wondering if Maxwell was assaulted
and she adored
by her
father.
Maxwell. I know there was definitely some weird form of discipline going on in the house, but I'm wondering if that extended to full-on assaults by Robert Maxwell himself. It just seems really bizarre what went on in that household through the kids. And some of the kids...
During the document that I read about her father, I told you he was like a multi-billionaire, part of the shipping industry, where he eventually fell out of fame and embezzled a bunch of people's union money and their pensions, and they ended up finding him in a 60-foot yacht, well, outside of it, floating, and then Ghislaine Maxwell, right after that, said she's going to go fight the pollution in the water, whatever the hell. But they said that their relationship between father and mother, or father and daughter, were really creepy.
I've just gone on to have absolute tragic lives of insane ups and downs, including death and
incest,
fortunes made
probably.
and fortunes lost. And some of the kids looked up to the dad as this huge, shining example of bombastic business success, whereas other of the kids wanted to get as far away from the dad as possible for whatever reasons we don't know. We've just got all of the information from people close to the family and from Ari Ben Menashe, who worked with Robert Maxwell, former Israeli military intelligence.
Yep.
That video has really got a lot of views now. If you've not seen it yet, he reveals a lot about how Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein originally met. So, hope you are enjoying these videos. Huge thank you to all the new subscribers. Subscription logo is in the bottom corner down there. Huge thank you to all people who've clicked in the description box and gone on our socials and shared and liked the videos and posted comments. This is the case. We are really looking at every single news story that comes out on it and trying to keep you as informed as possible. And I'm doing lots of extra added research as well. My book, Who Killed Epstein, is still a work in progress, but I hope that it's gonna blow some minds when it comes out. All right, cheers. Thank you for your love and support. Take care out there. Thanks for watching. Hello, Sean.
All right, I would recommend, if you get a chance or you're streaming through stuff on YouTube or whatever, give this guy a try. He knows a lot of stuff about Maxwell, Prince Andrew, the royal family. He's wrote books before, and he's an investigator. So I would really recommend that. So that just kind of solidified kind of what I was saying about what's happening with Ghislaine Maxwell and her court and things. So this is another thing I'd like to talk about. Now, there's a guy that I just started listening to for a while, and he's a moderate or conservative, and he's warning, he's got a little bit of a foul mouth, but it's about time that someone's speaking out against the craziness that's happening. This particular person goes by the name Salty Cracker, okay? He's on YouTube, but he just got a ban. You'll hear about this. And then he's on a couple other platforms. One of them is D-Link. You can get him and look under The Salty Cracker. And I'm recommending you guys try this guy out if you're a conservative or whatever. And basically, YouTube is giving him strikes when all he's doing is reporting on the truth, which anybody that does, you know, you've got to push that liberal line or you're silenced. So that's why I say he's going to go to these. He's also on these other platforms that don't silence conservatives or, you know. Okay, so here we go. Hi, Salty Cracker.
Take this, you fucking assholes. We don't like what you do. We're going to give you a ban for a week. They'll keep you in line. Fuck your ban. Fuck your ban. Eat my fucking nuts. I will ban myself. So, alakablam! What's going on, everybody? You might be wondering what's going on with this channel. I'm also wondering what's going on with this channel. But shenanigans afoot, my friends. Friday morning, early Friday morning, I woke up. I was going to do some Donald Trump woo flu videos. I went to go upload it, and YouTube was like, no, you're a bad boy. You're a bad boy. You got a week-long ban because you called for the death of Joseph Piss Pants Biden. I was like, I did? Really? What are you talking about? And I pulled up this video, and it was my Kyle Rittenhouse video where I was talking about how he's going to bring down a fourth commie, and these shitheads were like, that's violence. And I was like, with a lawsuit. With the entire video is how Joe Biden slandered a 17-year-old political prisoner, called him a white supremacist, with no proof. There's nothing. We know who this kid is. We got his social media. There's absolutely nothing here. You're going to get fucking sued. And these shitheads on YouTube
Joe can't say an actual thought because he reads off a teleprompter. That's why he says, I can't see it. Bring it closer. Bring it closer.
I pulled up the appeal. I appeal all of these, knowing full well that these are shitheads over in Silicon Valley, and there's zero chance I'm going to win any of these. I was blown away, by the way. This happened, a month or two ago when those dumb idiots were LARPing on the Seattle freeway, and that chick got Carmageddon, and they gave me a strike over that, and I was like, I'm just reporting what happened here. It's not my fault she's playing on the fucking freeway.
You cannot report unless you're a liberal.
It's not my fault she's ruining some sweet-ass Jaguars.
Sucking the liberal tit.
They gave me a strike for that one. I appealed it. I won that one. I was like, holy shit. Holy shit. So no, obviously I'm going to appeal all of them. Anyway, this most recent one where they said that I called for the death of a presidential candidate, which by the way seems to be fine on all of social media right now. You guys seem to be wishing death on Donald Trump left and right.
Constantly saying hope he's dead, hope the virus kills him when he got it.
Violence and call for action. I was like, no, it's not.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Put that into the appeal. It was immediately rejected. I don't think I even hit the fucking send button.
Whoops. Sorry. I must have hit it wrong. Sorry about that. We were just getting good. I was trying to type something. I must have had the thing there. Hold on. We're going to get back to the Salty Cracker here in a second. Salty Cracker. Hold on. Salty Cracker. Let me go here because I was just playing it. There we go. Okay, here we go.
Before it came back and said, no, fuck you, you racist. How dare you appeal this? You sit there in the YouTube gulag system for a week. And I was like, okay, all right, so it's an appeal rejected, no big deal. We're just going to move on. And so I started, let's work on these different alt media platforms, the alt media platforms. And so, we told everybody, hey, we'll be on D Live later on. We won't be able to do the restreams on YouTube because these people are asshole. And later on in the day, so after I did the appeal on that video, I sent off a tweet to Lynn Wood, at Lynn Wood. Lynn Wood is the guy who is, he did the Nick Sandman defamation suit, and now he's on the Kyle Rittenhouse team, and he's going to be suing the places that were calling him white supremes. And I just sent off a tweet at him and Team YouTube. I was like, hey Lynn Wood, while you're suing all of these shitheads, can you sue YouTube? Now,
yeah.
I don't know if that had anything to do with what's coming down the pike, but something else interesting happened that day. So I'm showing the Salt Queen. I was like, hey, she came out. I was like, we got banned. Here's the video that we got banned from. And I noticed that there was another appeal under the video. So the first appeal was just in my dashboard. Like the minute you pull up YouTube and you've been banned, it's like, you have a strike. You have to deal with this right now. And I was like, okay. So then I did the appeal. And then I'm let into the dashboard. I'm showing the Salt Queen the video that we've been banned from. So now this is a different button for appeal. And I was like, why not? Why the fuck not? 2 scoops, 2 genders, 2 scoops, 2 SCOTUS, get that third SCOTUS, and 2 appeals. Boop, 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 boop. I put in the same exact thing. I said, hey, fuck you, you shitheads. This is clearly not a call to action. This is a video about Kyle Rittenhouse's team throwing a defamation lawsuit at Joe Biden. What the fuck is wrong with you idiots? Words aren't violence. Now, 8 hours later, I get an email, and it says, you have, you won the appeal. Hold on, what? What is going on here? I didn't think the second one would even go through. And by the way, later on in the day, before we did, I wanted to pull up my YouTube back end. Obama, stand down, friend. Stand down. We ain't talking about Big Mike. I pulled up my YouTube back end. And there was another appeal. And I was like, can I get 3 scoops of appeals? I tried that one. That one didn't go through. So I guess the magic number is 2. So Jeremy at the Quartering, Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers, Sargon of Akkad, Baring. All of you mad lads on the conservative anti-communism side, when you get a fucking strike, appeal it on both ends. Appeal it from your dashboard and then go to the video and appeal it. You never know. This place is so haphazardly run and they apply their fucking rules in such a bullshit manner. Do it. Why not? The second one worked. So I don't know if it was the second fucking appeal or if it was the at Lynn tweet. Who knows? They don't tell you shit. Fuck this place, by the way. Fuck you, YouTube. So you guys gave me a ban. I appealed it just for, why the hell not? And now, fuck you. I'm taking the rest of the week off. I'm going to ban myself just to show you that you guys have taken your position of power and you've watered it down by being such dickheads and running your operation so piss fucking poorly out there. I want investors. They'll probably never know. This is me being a drop in the water, drop in the ocean. I don't give a fuck though. But now it's all about principle. I will ban myself from your platform to show you that you're running this platform so fucking poorly that your main threat, the main tool that you use to try to get your fucking people in line, all your content creators in line, it's losing its fucking power. And so even though you sit there and you go, oh yeah, take this, you fucking assholes. We don't like what you do. We're going to give you a ban for a week. They'll keep you in line. Fuck your ban. Fuck your ban. Eat my fucking nuts. I will ban myself. So I will be back on Saturday. I'm going to take the rest of the fucking week off of YouTube. Fuck you, YouTube. I ban you. I ban you, YouTube. You don't get any of the fucking salt, you fucking cocksuckers. I will put all of my videos this week over on Odyssey, and I will put my streams on DLive. I'm going to start building up my fucking reserves and my fucking safety boats because I know everybody who plays this game on your shit fucking platform knows that if you're not a communist cocksucker, you're going to get yeeted eventually. You're going to get that DOS boot off the platform. And I've been doing a real piss poor job making sure that we've built up our backups. I ain't doing that. No. You ban me? Fine. The second appeal works? That doesn't make any fucking sense. The second appeal shouldn't have worked. Your system's so fucking stupid. The second appeal worked? I'm not even supposed to have a second appeal. That doesn't make any sense. No, so I will sit here and I will take the ban. I will ban myself and I will work on those other platforms because the fight against communism never stops. And fuck you, YouTube. Start taking notice that people aren't caring so much when they get booted off your platform. Start taking notice that people don't give a fuck when you ban us for a week off your fucking platform. Start recognizing that your power is dwindling, you MySpace cocksuckers. But there you have it, my friends. If you want to join us, by the way, we will be on Odyssey this week. We will be on DLive this week. And going forward, we're starting to decide how we want to do this YouTube. We ain't going back to YouTube 100%. Now, we got a lot of support on YouTube, and a lot of people have been paying us for what we do on YouTube. I hear you, I understand you, and I respect you. We are going to start drawing down very, very slowly. It's going to be done in a very smooth process, but we're starting to think maybe we're going to take one of the restreams and add that to DLive. We're definitely going to make sure that we're putting at least maybe one day's video will be exclusive on different platforms just to make sure that we go forward. We have taken Odyssey and we've gone from like 600 subscribers. I think we're at 10,000 today. So we're going to work hard to build that up this week and DLive. DLive's, we're approaching some epic levels of DLive subscriptions. And so,
yes,
YouTube, take notice, assholes. You're about to be fucking toast. All right, everybody, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you so much for everything you guys do out there. Please don't take this like I'm trying to punish you. This is not a punishment for the Salt Army. This is the sacrifice that we make to make sure that we can continue this message out there, so we can make sure that we've got a place for the Salty Army when they kick us off this fucking platform. Everything that we do for the Salty Army, because it's the Salty Army out there fighting against these fucking communist cocksuckers. And so, thank you guys for everything you do. We're building up these other reserves, these other platforms, so we've got a place to base camp as we BTFO these tech cocksuckers at Silicon Valley. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. And make way, because that salt will continue to flow.
Okay, so like I said in the beginning of this one, I recommend that if you're not a complete liberal and you have an open mind, he brings up a lot of good thoughts, and he basically takes them to the woodshed once in a while of this lefty California thinking hellhole that California and other places. He lives in California. So if you go to Salty Cracker on YouTube, you'll see where it talks about Odyssey. You'll see pre-recorded stuff there, and then the live streams this week are going to be on DLive. You can also sign up there, I believe both free, the DLive and that, so you can watch them there. I'm just giving them a big thumbs up, and if you weren't ever aware of him, I would recommend checking him out. I think I prescribe to him, so I give a little bit of money every now and then, trying to keep that Salt Army moving. So that's one thing. I don't know if I have anything else for tonight. Let's see. Earlier I talked about Van Halen, who passed recently. See what else I have here. I'm just scrolling down. Let's see. So on the topics, we went through the VP debate. I believe that Mike Pence definitely won that, especially with her not being able to respond or give an answer if she's going to try to pack the courts. We also talked about President Trump and probably the Rose Garden, where he was telling everybody that he's fine now and that he'll be ready for the debates. We also, one thing I didn't touch on yet, well, a little bit we did, with the announcement yesterday or today, that the findings of records, documents, tweets, everything else that Hillary Clinton was the original person. She not only paid for it, she's the one that pushed our FBI and everybody else to start this narrative that it's Russia collusion, okay? Which was a failure. And even before, she thought that would help it so that she could win. You know, he's a Russian, he's whatever. That was all bullshit. She has a death count. What is it now? 50 or 60, 68 people now that were close personal friends have died for mysterious reasons. Some people were shot twice in the back, suicide. So let's not talk bullshit about that. That's just reality. Let's see what else we talked about today. I'm about ready to get off this situation, but I was just checking to see what else we had on here. I don't always talk about I don't usually talk all about doom and gloom. Let me see if there's something that's on a good note. Let's see what something on a good note. Well, one thing I'm hearing is that if you like movies, which most of us do, looks like Warner Brothers might have the Wonder Woman show go to the theaters, which, you know, one theater thing has basically decided not to open anymore. Royal or Reality or whatever it is, they've decided not to open. They might go out of business, but a lot of the other theaters are still, like the smaller ones, are trying to stay open. So they're saying that Warner Brothers is kicking around the theory to let the Wonder Woman movie out, the new one, in theaters, and then shortly after that it'll be on a paid service so you can rent it, which will be great. And I think if that happens, I think, because that's DC stuff, I think Marvel may step ahead of it, Disney, and release Black Widow movie, which we've been waiting since last year to come out. So, I mean, it should have came out early. Yeah, so we've been waiting a while. So now it's a possibility that we might end up getting these movies. So if you want to venture to the movie theaters, the ones that are open, or you might be able to pay the $30-40 and get it, or rent it for 30 or 25 and get it for 40 or whatever, and, you know, ultra high def, and get to play it at your home. A lot of people have a pretty good television, surround sound, and it's much cheaper to do that, because when you go pay $15 to $18 for a movie, you're spending $30 to $50 if you take more than one or two people, just to get a pop or diet pop or popcorn or nachos or whatever else, you know. If you, like, for years we had 6 kids, so it would cost us $70 back then just to take kids to the movies for a $5 movie. So they make their money in their concessions, you know. So let me see what else we have here. Okay, so let me see. I don't see anything else here right now. I'm going to keep trying to do. I've been gone for a while. I've been working and didn't know if I really wanted to talk a lot about what's been happening, but I think when the word came out that somebody close to the president and the first lady had COVID, then they tested them and said, oh, they have COVID, then everybody else has COVID. The mainstream media and the liberals, instead of saying, well, nobody wants a sitting president to be injured or hurt or die. It causes very bad situations of our, not allies, but of our people who don't like us, feel that they can make a move on us. So you don't ever want that, okay? So they come out and they put out all kinds of bad stuff. They're showing pictures of Trump in a casket with everybody laughing around him, all our ex-presidents, including Melania, all happy. Okay, so, my response to that is I'd like to play this thing before I leave. This is a little one I saw here, since everything gets censored and stuff like that. I'd like to play this before I leave.
Joe Biden has never been a moderate. Now he's nothing but a Trojan horse for the radical left. And just like the socialists, the first thing he wants to do is raise your taxes.
Guess what? If you elect me, your taxes are going to be raised, not cut.
Joe Biden, even though he's portrayed as a moderate, is offering the most expensive Democratic tax plan that we've seen.
$4 trillion.
Joe Biden truly is a Trojan horse for the radical left. And who is Joe Biden's main partner in developing the Democrats' radical far-left agenda? Socialist Bernie Sanders and his comrades.
Yeah.
Joe Biden would let AOC and the rest of her socialist squad take the reins and run his presidency. But this election, we will defeat the Trojan horse and close the book on Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Well, all right. I'm going to sign off now. It's been almost 3 hours between the debate and some other things I touched on. Somebody may never see this. I don't know. But I'm going to keep putting these out, and maybe I'll gain traction. I have no idea. I started at 9 o'clock. It is now like 11:46 p.m. Eastern Time on 10/7/2020. Peace out, everybody. Peace out. Love the ones that are close to you.